Right, hello guys. We're out on the outside broadcast kit again. We are sat in a piss wet car park at Warhammer World. It's my birthday and we're going to play some dice. So yeah, we and Stu, we've just driven up to Warhammer World. It's been fucking wet the whole way up, hasn't it?
It's really, really bad. The visibility of about 20 yards.
Yeah,
I'm glad you were driving.
Stu's been pressing his foot into the imaginary brake pedal in the pedestrian side while I've been tailgating lorries up the M1 and M42. But yeah, it's been piss wet. So yeah, we're up at Warhammer World. We thought we'd have a day trip out, and it's actually coincided that. Well, it doesn't coincide. My birthday is March, but because Tim didn't get his finger out and get the Global Heresy campaign started in February, we were taking the second month. So it's actually fallen that it's our month to do the Global Heresy campaign month, and we thought, well, we're coming up to Warhammer World, and we might as well get the let's do the mission. So we're going to give you a bit of a brief intro into the Golloch War mission that we've run, and then we're going to chat about what we've been doing. So it would have probably helped if I'd been organised and got the Golloch War mission up first.
You mean while I was setting up the recording gear, you mean?
Yeah. Instead of me just sitting here and talking shit, I could have actually done something. So, oh Jesus. First thing to say is there is the second Golloch War Facebook group. If you're not a member of it, go and jump in it. There's 520 people in there now, which is pretty awesome. I mean, today is March the 3rd, so the mission's been live for 3 days. I posted about it yesterday, so that's 2 days. There are already people putting up battle reports from our month on there, which is awesome. So, firstly and most importantly, you need to go to oz30k.com, register yourself on there, get yourself logged on to oz30k, get your army built. Essentially, it's a Wikipedia, it's a wiki page that you can edit yourself. I gotta admit, when I first looked at it, it's a little bit daunting. I will say, like, you think, oh, shit. Andrew Hollis, powerful Andrew Hollis from Australia, has done an awesome job of writing guides on what to do, and it is. I mean, I'm technically illiterate. I am a Neanderthal when it comes to computers, and I've managed to get my army registered and on there. It takes some time. Just work your way through it. Get your army registered. Get yourself on there. Now, you don't have to register to be part of the Golloch Wars, but it's definitely going to add a lot more, because the big thing is the Golloch Wars is run on Oz30k. To influence the end result, you've got to log your battle reports into it as well. So if you want to really get the whole hog and go full narrative, you've got to pile in there and get it registered. It is awesome. There's a great community on there, and being able to log your battle reports and feel like you're part of something, your battle means something, is really important.
You're on multiplayer mode rather than story mode, sitting at home.
Yeah. You are playing on there. Let's have a quick look. We have already have we had a battle report in yet? Let's see if somebody's logged a battle report on March 3rd. No skirmishes yet, so nobody's yet logged a report. So get on there and get in there. Obviously needs to be a traitor win, really. That's the most important thing. So, shall I give you a bit of fluff?
A traitor win?
Traitor win? Oh, Jesus Christ. I'm trying to read and do things at the same time. It needs to be a loyalist win. So, let's give you a bit of the background then. And what we'll probably do is I'll go through. Stu will probably ask questions, which will probably be the questions that everybody's asking. I'm not going to read out the entire text, because if you want to find it, it's on the Facebook groups. I've posted it on the Geno pages and the Geno groups. You can find it from there. But basically, it's set on a world called Gaul. For those of you who know your ancient Latin, you'll start to piece together where I've shamelessly stolen this battle from and plagiarised a famous battle from. Gaul was a minor world in a minor sector that was brought to compliance late in the First Golloch War, in the Crusade Wars. There was only a small battle. There was a small resistance to compliance, but it was quite quickly and dealt with by a small minor fleet of the expedition. However, it's inhabited by a race of techno-archivists who are an offshoot of the Mechanicum. It's quite a Mechanicum heavy planet. They had data stacks full of knowledge that they'd held on to through Old Night, and they were pretty precious about it. So while they accepted compliance, the Mechanicum used to report back to the Lords of Terror quite regularly that they weren't sharing everything they should do, and they were resistant to let people into certain data stacks and stuff. So they were never. It was always a bit fractional. Their compliance was more on paper than in the heart. So, as the heresy broke out, they quite quickly joined the traitor sides. Emissaries from Horus and the traitors had been arriving, sowing the seeds, saying we'll give you independence, you can keep your data stacks, all these kind of things. So, I mean, almost as soon as the heresy exploded, they declared for the War Master and they set about smashing all the Imperials on Gaul. So, where Gaul also sat, and the reason it's reasonably important, is the system it sits within is one of the major, just off one of the major routes into the Golloch sector. So, as a strategic base, it's quite important actually, because to launch raiding missions on incoming forces on the main, the main routes into the Golloch sector, it's pretty important. So the Imperials decided quite quickly, we need to get the Golloch, we need to get the Europa system and Gaul under control basically, and we need to take hold of it. So a counter-offensive was decided, and they set off with ragtags of everything they get out of legionary forces, Imperial forces, Mechanicum forces. Basically, everybody went in there. The reason, the battle we've picked out that's going to be the kind of core focus of this month is the assault on Starport EN BE 551N. And if you know your history, you can find out where that's plagiarised from as well. So there are some hints in there.
I thought it was just a book reference number.
No. There's if you look for port, if you do some Second World War research, you'll be like, I bet you JP already knows what battle it is, and JP's already well on it. The Starport, so the assault on the Starport was important. It's the major landing facility on the planet. Any successful planetary invasion is going to need to take that to drop reinforcements in. So they need to strike it, they need to take it, they need to hold it. The loyalists need to take it from the traitor hands. So, though that's the background to it, there's a lot more detailed fluff on there on the website. Go and check those out. There's some good there. And we've built 2 suggested games really. Again, this is suggested games, and that's means you'll get into. See, we've taken the suggested game and we've ignored some of it. Go and build your own narrative, go and build your own story, go and build your bit of the assault. However, we've given you a couple of ideas for games. So, the first one is a smaller game, designed to be sort of the initial strikes, the elite strike teams that hit the port first to cripple the infrastructure and pave the way for the major assault. So, ideally, play using the strategic raid missions from Book 4. Traitors should use the Garrison Force Org and Loyalists the Raider Force Org to really represent the Loyalist assault. We've put some restrictions on the army building just to try and give you some flavour. So no units with an armour value of 14 or more can be selected, because this is a raid. We don't want big, heavy, trundling vehicles. This is light assault task force. You can only take one unit with a tank type for every 2 infantry units you take, including dedicated transports. So if you want a Rhino with your tactical squads, you can have 2 tactical squads to get 1 Rhino. So we're again pushing, we want infantry based, we want raiders, we want elite task force. This is secret ops missions. Only 1 flyer for the entire army, including dedicated transports, because you might have a Storm Eagle bringing your elite force in. You might have a little bit of air cover, but you're not going to have a whole air superiority wing coming in. And no Lords of War. I mean, we're at 2,000 points, so you could technically bring a Lord of War at 2,000 points. We don't want it. It doesn't fit the idea of what we're trying to do. We've added a few special rules in as well. So we just wanted to, give some flavour, add to the game, mainly to buff up the infantry, to make it much more powerful. So the Raider player deploys second, regardless of the mission requirements. So your defender's your traitors are going to deploy out first. Your loyalists are going to deploy out second, representing the fact that you're being ambushed, so the traitors are in place. Ambush tactics. So the Raider player will have the first turn though, but the defending player can seize the initiative. So you automatically, regardless of the mission, the Raider player is going to go first, because it is an ambush. You're striking from the shadows. But the defending player gets stubborn within their own deployment zones as well. They're holding the line. They don't want to give up and fall back. So that gives you a little buff as well. So that's a smaller mission. That is, the raids prior to the main invasion. The bigger game then is the main invasion. So we said 3,000 points plus. It was pointed out to me, if you're going to go above 4K, I think Maximum the Road to Terror podcast said, you start to struggle to fill a Force Org. So if you want to go into a second Force Org, absolutely fine. But, if you go into a second Force Org, you're going to need to complete the requirements. So you're still going to need an HQ and 2 troops minimum for that second primary force org. So, you know, keep building your force orgs that way. I mean, if you want to go to 15,000 points and have 8 force orgs, great, but keep filling them up properly. You know, if you want to play it, great. I'd love to see it. Get some pictures on our Facebook page and in the group. We've just gone for these. These are your more standard missions. So, use the missions out the book. Use the standard missions, really, ideally. Build your own mission if you want. You know, great. Build a narrative. Build a mission. You know, go for it. But really, it should be played on a very heavily urban table if you can. Now, I know not everybody has access to every single type of table. You know, you can't just go and whip out our heavy cities of death urban table. But if you've got access to one, you know, that's the theme. That's what we're looking for. You know, lots and lots of cover. And the reason for lots and lots of cover is we want infantry to be priority again. I know the heresy company is accused of being a parking lot. So we want to make infantry more viable. So lots and lots of cover makes infantry much more viable because there's more cover. So to buff that as well, all infantry units in the troops choice, so not your elites or your fast attack or anything, only your troops, your standard troops, they get the move through cover special rule and they get the stealth ruins special rule. So while they're fighting hand to hand through ruined buildings, you know, they're not very visible, they're darting between buildings. They're also gaining some extra cover. You know, infantry benefit from cover as well. So fill up those six troop slots. Get this infantry heavy. Some other special rules. Traitors gain stubborn within their deployment zone again. The loyalist player automatically has first turn, but the defending player can seize the initiative as well, though. So it's just again trying to, you know, this is an assault. The loyalists have the advantage. They're going, but you know you can seize the initiative if you've got a good force in there. So that's the mission. That's the idea. And now we'll explain what we've done to screw with it.
Yeah.
So Stu's been on a mad painting fiend for the last little while.
Yeah, I'm desperately trying to get the Solar Rocks earlier finished, ready for this trip for Tom's birthday. I wasn't really thinking about the global campaign when I was trying to do it. I just wanted something different. But then it became more and more apparent that my fists against your Ultramarines, you're going to have to do some pretty cheesy narrative-based swings to make it seem like a campaign-worthy game. And we both love our narrative, and we don't often get to play narrative against each other because we're both loyalists. We tend to play fun, laid-back, not kick-your-face games, but they're kind of... You can only do the training mission every once in a while. So I was really, really trying to get the Solar Rocks done. And it got to the stage where I was trying to do 2 squads of 10 Velatari. I just wanted to get them to the tabletop standard and on the bases, and I was doing them last night, and I realised I wasn't going to get them done. Though everything else in the army's done just about. I just still didn't have a Lord Marshal either. I was going to use the injured officer on the gurney from the one that looks a bit like Greg Dan. Caveat there, I've never actually met Greg Dan, but having seen his face online a few times,
it's an honour to be sculpted.
Yeah, well, I do think there's more of a passing resemblance to the face of this model. So go and check it out. It does look a bit like Greg Dan's face. But yeah, so I've been struggling to do it, and we were talking about it sort of last night and this morning. We just realised that I didn't want to bring the fists. So I've brought all the Solar Orcs I've got, and we've come up with a bit of a weird kind of fluffy thing that they've been sort of infiltrated by the Alpha Legion. Always blame the Alpha Legion.
Easy blame.
And I've got a Praetor and 2 just 5-man support squads, plasma support squads. And they're kind of filling the slots of stuff I haven't got painted. So, and so we're completely mixing the rules. So running one force org, but it's mixing stuff from another army list into it. But they're obviously Imperial Fists because they're pretending to be Imperial Fists to get close to the Ultramarines. Yeah. And fooling the Solar Rocks guys that they're on the loyalist side, and then they're going to trick them into combat basically. And it's a way of getting sort of. So I've got 2 5-man support squads going in Draco's hands instead of Velatari, and they still have a Lord Marshal. We've got a Praetor, so it'll look a bit odd, but we've come up with some narrative that actually makes sense. So it was a bit brief there, but makes sense more than just yellow on blue, which it would have been.
Yeah, it makes more sense than 2 loyalist legions going into each other.
Absolutely, you won't see much yellow because the support squads will be in the Draco's hands for most of the game. But it was a way of doing it. I didn't want to. We don't put any unpainted models on the table, especially when we're going to Warhammer World and playing on these beautiful tables. So I just couldn't quite get there. But this is a way around it, and it means that I'm not just bringing a Fifth Army that I probably would have lost a lot of motivation playing. And it means we can kind of kick off our month for the Golloch Wars with a viable game,
with a narrative-based game.
And I'm going to register. Won't be tonight because we're going out drinking tonight, but it'll be tomorrow when I'm feeling hungover. I'm going to register on Oz 30k, and I'm going to get my Solar Rocks registered. I've never done it with the fists because I used to use Pollux, and it always felt a bit weird putting up background for someone that's a named character. But there's none of that with the Solar Rocks, so I've got half the background written, and I will probably try and squeeze this battle in there somehow, just to see if I can get it all linked in. So that's, again, just gives you an idea of how you can use all these tools to drive narrative and background in your armies.
Yeah, I mean, again, like we were talking about the narrative, and I've kind of not to this as much extent as Stu, but I've sort of twisted the rules a little bit with my army build. We were talking about it, and I thought, well, I normally run Gilliman as my Lord of War, and I thought, for one, it's not the right army to come up against him with. You know, it just doesn't make sense a little bit. Also, the Primarchs aren't flying around in every battle, and this is a raiding mission. You know, an assault on a planet. It's not a major fight. It wouldn't seem to be where he is. And if you've been following this on social media, you've seen my Atropos that I painted up over the last couple of months ago. Over Christmas really.
I not got to use it.
Yeah, and actually, I don't have a list I can fit it in because it's a Lord of War for a Mechanicum. Or a Questoris Knight army, and I don't have either at the moment, so it's sort of gone in the cabinet and it looks very pretty and it hasn't got played, and I was like, well, I want to play it, and it makes kind of in my head makes more sense.
Here, like, why not? But people can't see that on an audio. But absolutely, this is going back to what it was like to play in your bedroom when you were sort of 14, 15 or something. This is what the game should be about. This is what we talk about in narrative, and we were just chatting away. And we were like, why are we even worried about this? Just bring the toys that we want to use and make a game that works.
Yeah, we've had a conversation along the lines of, I said to Stu, I'll bring my Atropos as long as you don't think that's going to be totally screw your game up and you're not going to enjoy your game because you're playing it. No, but if you were just like, oh, I've got nothing to deal with it and it's just going to kick my face off and it's not going to be enjoyable. I think, who was I listening to the other day? But they were saying it's a two-player game.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a two-player experience. We want both sides to have fun. So it's just that chat we had, and I appreciate if you're playing at a club somewhere, you can't always have that chat beforehand, pick up games. You can't always do this, but if you've got the opportunity to, me and Stu, we chatted all night, we sorted out the list, we've shown each other our list before we even came up here, we were talking to each other about what we're going to bring, we both know exactly what we're doing, because it all fits the fluff, it fits the narrative.
And we'll adjust it as we go, so if turn 2, turn 3, someone's severely behind, we're going to do some ongoing reserves and stuff, and just make sure that it's, that we have a long enough game. Obviously we're going to have a few beers, we're going to have a good lunch here, we're going to visit the miniatures gallery, got other stuff to do, but we don't want to end the game in an hour and think,
you've driven 2 hours up.
Should we do a replay it? We'll make the game last the right amount of time. So
we've driven 2 hours up here, we don't want a 2-turn game, so we'll balance things together, because we want to have fun, we want to play our game. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to be posting lots of pictures. You'll see the pictures before you hear this, because we'll post them up on social media today, but enjoy, you guys, and what we'll do is we'll catch up with you later.
So, if anyone heard that funny noise a minute ago, because I accidentally leant on something I bought for Tom's tea trolley. You haven't seen this. So, have you told the listeners about the tea trolley?
I think I've mentioned the heresy trolley a bit.
So for Tom's tea trolley, I've bought him a horn.
So that's for my trolley. When I go down to Escalation Bay and I'm taking my trolley to push my army around
on your trolley,
I'm going to be carrying around going, heresy! Heresy!
Someone's in the way. There's your horn.
And I reckon, because I've just blasted that straight in the mic, I've just deafened somebody.
Yeah, we'll have to compress that probably a little bit. But,
awesome. Right, guys, we'll probably catch up later and we'll do another little segment about how it all went. So we'll catch you guys in a bit.
Take care, bye.
Welcome back then, guys. Obviously that wasn't the usual intro that we normally give, but we felt that was the best place to start the show. So we're a couple of days later, we're back at home. Stu's still licking his Solar Orcs wounds, but more on that in a bit. I'm sat back at the table surrounded by MDF Zone Mortalis stuff and beer. So we're going to rock into a bit more of the regular, return to your scheduled programming now. So anyway, I'm sat here drinking, and I am joined, as always, by my colleague Stu.
Hello. I'm not drinking anymore. I had a cup of tea, and we've spent half an hour trying to get our recording levels right. Still having loads of issues, and I've drunk my tea in that time, so I'm now drinkless. And I'm not drinking beer. I've drunk for the last 3 nights. I mean, we went out for your birthday, and then I still had beer in the house for the last 2 nights. So I've had about 3, only not many, 3 beers each night. But I'm not having a 4th night in a row when I'm having a few drinks. Mainly because I've run out. But
so it's not wanting to; it's just ability to.
Absolutely. Yeah. So my cup of tea's gone, unfortunately. But I'll soldier on.
I'm smashing the Rheinenbacher. I should probably get Chris to pronounce that for me. Pilsner, 99p for 500 millilitres from Aldi, and it's bloody lovely. I tell you what, it's proper German lager, Pilsner lager. It's 99p for a bottle in Aldi at the moment. I bought 10 bottles the other day. It's cracking, really nice. The problem is I drink a lot of them.
You do like them. You do keep going on about them, so they must be.
They're cracking, mate. Honestly, it's a 500ml bottle, so it's just short of a pint for 99p, and it's 4.8%, and it's proper cracking German lager. You know, we did work out that because it's 2.4 units, the wife had one with dinner. That's above her daily recommended UK guidance law on units of alcohol to drink. One bottle of beer. Fucking hell. I mean, I'm double my limit at the moment.
That doesn't surprise me.
Because I'm rattling on. But, oh, Christ, after the day I've had, I bloody needed a drink.
Breaking the compressor.
I didn't break it. It died. Oh, yeah, I've got a compressor with a tank on, and it's been leaking for a few days. Did I tell you, I was sat downstairs, and because it's a compressor with a tank, in theory it runs, it fills up, and it shuts up then. So if I leave it on overnight, it doesn't matter, it just sits there, because no air's going out of it, it doesn't need to refill it. I sat downstairs last night, and I can hear it running. I'm thinking, what the bloody hell's it running? So I come upstairs, and I strip all the cheap moisture trap and quick release and stuff off that I bought off eBay, and plug it straight into the airbrush. Still running, can't hear a leak or feel a leak anywhere. Oh, fucking hell. So anyway, I just leave it, thinking, oh, fuck it. I thought, well, it must be the hose. I ordered a new hose off eBay. It was like £3. So I was like, we'll get that and we'll change that. That's the last part then. And I thought, well, if that's not it, I'm in trouble. And I sat there today smashing through these bloody breaches and these custos that I keep getting distracted with. And I could hear the hissing. I could hear it hissing. I thought, I can hear the leak. So I sort of traced it down, and it was the pipe that ran from the compressor down to the tank. Thought, oh, fair enough, maybe a seal's blown or something, an O-ring's gone. So I took it downstairs, stripped it back, checked the seals all look good. So I thought, well, I'll nip it up and make sure it's nice and tight, because it does vibrate when it runs. So I thought maybe it's just, it's worked the nut loose a little bit. And I touched it with the spanner and moved it I turned it up finger tight, got the spanner, moved it probably an eighth of a turn, and it just went snap shear. Oh, fuck. That's fucked that then. So anyway, onto Amazon, find the order. Oi fuckers, I bought it from. It hasn't lasted a year. Give me a new one. Then I read up about manufacturer's warranty saying it's only really 6 months. I thought, fuck, probably not going to get away with this. Anyway, I get an email back clearly from somebody who hasn't got a great grasp of the English language going, yes, warehouse send you one out now. Fair enough. Got a new compressor on the way then. So awesome. Fuck knows when that's going to turn up. But I'm in Gibraltar this weekend, so it's not a massive worry. But we'll get that back.
You do your breaches as well, because you keep painting other stuff, don't you? So maybe it'll force you to actually do what you're supposed to be painting.
Well, yeah, that's the problem. I love the breeches. I'm really pleased with them. But blocking in colour on 20 models, because I'm doing my Tartarus Terminators at the same time as well. So I've got 25 models I'm blocking colour in on. And, oh, God, is it slow. I mean, it's taken me 3 days just to do the silver. Because I paint 2 or 3 and I'm like, I'm bored, paint a custode.
Yeah, no, I know. I can understand your pain. I have it weekly.
Yeah, but you've got that thing that goes, if I don't do it, I'm not getting paid. Whereas I go, fuck it, I'm painting something else.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't get paid for doing my last section. That was painful. And trying to get those Venatari done for Friday, and then
failing was painful as well. But now I've got no time to finish them, so I'll have to find a window in between other work to get them finished.
Just add another week on Freddie's commission and make him pay for you doing your solar orbs. He won't know. He'll be fine. He'll be fine with it.
He's not paying me by the hour. He's paying me by it's a fixed price, and that won't work. But they'll be done. But I'll have to grab an hour here and there rather than being able to sort of focus a full day on them or anything like that. But once they're not too far off being done, but it's a bit of a pain. But I got a load. It's nice to have so much finished now. I think since we've last been on, I've finished my Baneblade and my Thunderbolt and 2 Drakostans and 2 Lehman Russ and Aegis Defence Line. That's all completely done. And the one last section. So halfway through 20 Velatari. I've got 3 Medicaid to do, including the gurney, which we talked about when we were in the car at Warhammer World.
And what happened when we were at Warhammer World?
Well, having not met Greg Dan, Greg Dan came in and came over and said hello, and I can confirm he still looks like the guy on the gurney.
Not a bad thing.
Not a bad thing. So Dan, if you do listen to us, and I'm sure you don't, but if you are listening, yes, you do look a little bit like the Solar Auxiliary officer on the gurney, but it's fine. It's fine. He's a.
Take it as a compliment. Forgeworld saw your face. I'm going to make a compliment of that. A heroic injured human officer.
How weird was that though? That after saying that, an hour later over he pops. But it's really nice to we've not met him before. It's really nice that he saw our t-shirts and came over and introduced himself.
Yeah, nice to put a name to a face.
Absolutely, I think it was with Joe as well, wasn't he? He talks about on his car. They're on their way up to. They stopped off on their way up to Durham for the weekender up there. So yeah, it was really nice for him to come and say hello. So it was good to meet him.
Lots of pictures from the Durham weekender this weekend, wasn't it? It seems like the guys up at there, and it's the guys from the Edge of Empire podcast. Have we mentioned them before? I don't think
we haven't. They haven't yet. We'll be plugging them. We're plugging them now.
So there's a new UK northeast based podcast, Edge of Empire. Go check them out. It's the guys that run the Durham Raiders event. I think they've got 1 episode out now. I think their second one is ready to go.
Yeah, it's
following the weekender.
It's their pilot episode, and it sort of chats about some of their prep for their weekender, as they call it. It was good. It's a good episode. So out on iTunes and on SoundCloud. So if you search Edge of Empire, I think we'll have a link in the show notes anyway. We'll add them to the podcast list that we normally have there, so you'll be able to find them. But search them, you'll be able to find them and have a listen. So there's the UK podcast is starting to outnumber the rest, which is the right, really, because it is the home of Warhammer.
Did you see Max from the Road to Terror gave Jens from the Northern Heresy knuckle tattoos over the weekend? I don't know how Jens ended up sharing a room with Max, because the Durham guys, they hire a scout hut and they everyone gets accommodation on site, and they were triple stack sleeping Velataris style in their dorm rooms, and I don't know who drew the short straw, how it got allocated, but Jens and Max ended up in a room, and there was a lot of comments from Max saying Jens likes his whiskey, and a lot of comments from Jen saying Max is a whack faggot. So it sounded like they had an awesome weekend. I mean,
it looks brilliant.
Controversially, they allowed non-fully painted, but that's their scene. That's cool.
Yeah, it's up to them, isn't it? It's
up to them.
It looks like it didn't really affect the fun everyone had. It looks like a really laid back kind of mates all staying over and having a few games kind of thing. Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like it was awesome. Sounds like it was a really good event.
I could put up with unpainted models if the event was cool, which it clearly looked like it was. But what I wouldn't want to go to is unpainted whack faggotry. So it seemed like they had a really cool time. And hopefully it's a kick for people to say I really enjoyed that. Let's get my army finished and let's be closers. So
absolutely. We'll hear, or no doubt we'll hear 3 reviews of it. So Greg was there as well, wasn't he? So Greg will have an event review, and so will Max on Road to Terror. Maybe 4, because Edge of Empire will have their own review of it, and then Jens on the Northern Heresy will have one. So there'll be lots of different points of view on it. So it'll be interesting to hear whether people bring up painting, whether that's just because it's such an important thing to us. Because everyone's got different hobby focuses and things, haven't they? So, because some of the lists looked a bit tasty looking at them beforehand. But again, this is new on paper, isn't it? It doesn't sound like anyone had a bad time playing any of that. So it's good signs that maybe things aren't going to be as bad as the fear seems. And it is about the player at the end of the day, isn't it? So
yeah, let's face it. If you get your shit pushed in, but they're still giving you a cuddle at the same time, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. So. Yeah, it's same with anything. You can take the fluffiest list in the world, but if you're act like a douche for the entire game, it's going to be a crap game, isn't it? So I've had my shit pushed in by bigger boys plenty of times, and
but as long as they reach around at the same time,
exactly.
You're happy.
As long as they're a gentleman, they're a gentleman about things. It's understandable. So and like you said, I mean, sometimes we do want to bring our harsh shit out. You know, I've been working. I've been list hammering a few very brutal lists for my Ultramarines and just looking at them and going, you're a bad man. You're a bad man. Don't play that. You're a bad man. But sometimes it'd be cool, you know, if everyone's up for it, everyone's a consenting adult to say, right, let's get our big shit out and bash each other's skulls in for a bit, you know.
I think that's fine. I think the only problem you ever have with that kind of stuff is if it escalates across the whole meta where everyone feels they have to permanently up the game, and there's a big sort of shift in what people are taking, and I think that will be what everyone needs to sort of not get carried away now, thinking that there's 3 new very powerful lists out on the scene. I need to take this, and this now, and justify taking really cheesy things themselves. Let's see how they just play against what people have normally been running, and then and then TOs and organisers and friends that in their homes will react accordingly, hopefully, and things will settle down. There'll be an FAQ as well. Sounds like there's some FAQ on questions being taken and looked at the moment. We're going to have a new edition of 40k this year, so who knows what that's going to do to the balance of things anyway. So there's no point in getting too up and worried about it at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was actually Miles from Little Legends on the Age of Darkness podcast. He was saying, look, go and do it once. Go and get your unkillable, unhittable Magnus Death Star, take it out there, smash somebody's face in. As long as it's a consenting adult who knows what they're getting in for, you know, go and do it once. Have some fun, because why not? Fuck it, you wait. You know, Thousand Suns players have waited.
What are you doing? You're channeling Joe.
Oh, sorry, I'm rustling in a bag. Let me get. Sorry, let me get.
Channeling the inner Jodie's bits box, and we'll get complaints.
Sorry guys, I literally wasn't paying attention then. I just had to get some bits out for some scenery, and I realised as you said it, I was like, shit, I've got that right next to the microphone. So sorry guys. Oh, apologies. As long as you're a consenting adult, let's get the invisible Death Star Magnus out. Do it once, smash somebody's face in with it. You know, really go to town on somebody. Tell them you're going to do it so they can bring their dirty shit with them as well. Once you've done with it and you've had fun, then let's start maybe thinking about other things to do. You know, let's start building themes and stuff. Because let's face it, I think again Miles made the point. It was really good on the latest Age of Darkness. He said Thousand Suns players haven't been able to play their army the way they should have been for ages. You know, Space Wolves players could take Stubborn as the generic Legion and build an army that worked around that. Thousand Suns couldn't play because they hadn't got the psychic might they needed. You know, you couldn't take enough psychers to make it feel Thousand Sunny. So they've waited fucking ages. They've waited the longest for anybody to play a Legion. Why not let them go nuts? Let's enjoy their time at the top for a few months, but it comes with the caveat that once you've smashed a few people in the face, wind it back a bit, or you maybe not. Maybe it doesn't need to be wound back. Let's see how it goes. But you know, if you do find that nobody's making it past turn 2 with you, it's probably not the funnest list to play, and it might be worth rethinking your 25 Sec-Mech Terminators with deep striking with Magnus.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you want to wake it past turn 2, don't you, Tommy? Otherwise, you have to have rolling reserves that you bring on and they get killed all again.
On that note, do you want to roll into what happened when the Solar Orcs faced the mighty Ultramarines?
Yes, yeah. So we've already told everyone, I suppose, in our little pre-record that we had a bit of a weird kind of narrative on the go and a bit of a mismatched army, and it didn't really fare very well. You got first turn, and I think a few really good shots, and you disabled a lot, didn't you? Very, very early. I think you just before my first turn, I think my Baneblade wasn't moving and couldn't fire. One of my Lehman Russ was gone. One Dracosan was disabled and weapon gone. And something else as well. So I didn't really have anything to return fire. So and then I didn't really fire anything. And by second turn, you kind of destroyed everything, didn't you? Really, it was all over and done with. So
yeah, I mean, if we'd been playing straight up, you know, we'd already discussed the idea that maybe we might need some rolling reserve, not from any big-headed point of view, but your Solar Orcs list was a list put together out of what you've got to get on the table.
Absolutely.
Because I think, as we talked about, we didn't really want just another Ultramarine Imperial Fish stretching the narrative game. We wanted something a bit more themey. So we'd already had the thought of, I mean, I'd stretched it. We didn't realise quite how brutal my Atropos was going to be as well, I think. That thing is tough as nuts. And,
Lord of War versus Lord of War. I think Baneblade's not exactly the best Lord of War around. I picked it up as a cheap Lord of War, really, from Kurt actually. But I knew it was probably never going to make it into lists once I'd sort of bought some other things. So if we're going Lord of War versus Lord of War, there wasn't really a match there. So I mean, it was extremely powerful, wasn't it?
Yeah, the Venator hit it turn 1, stopped it from shooting. That allowed the knight to run up to it pretty much unopposed.
Yeah.
And it didn't help that when I hit it in combat with 5 attacks, I hit with 4 and then I rolled 4 sixes on the C table.
Yeah.
So without even having to roll the additional D6s, I'd already smashed the Baneblade into pieces. But, I mean, new model syndrome with the knight definitely didn't happen, did it? But that probably means it's going to die new every models, time it goes on now.
So it did happen the other way. Yeah, it was just one of those things, really. You knew your army. We talked about it a lot. You knew your army really well. You knew what it did. The first time using my stuff, and then I didn't really have the buffs and bonuses that I'd have with a normal Solar Orcs army anyway, because I didn't have full Solar Orcs, so I wasn't using a sort of Lord Marshal with their Warlord traits and all the little things that kind of give them the synergy that they need. And then having that sort of bad first turn, and then when I shot back, nothing hit, did it? I don't think I caused any. That's my first turn, and the few shots I had, nothing caused any damage. And then my first 4 leadership tests in the game, I think I rolled 12, 12, 11 and 10, wasn't it? And four things ran away. It was so it was just one of those games. It was funny. It was so bad. It was funny for the first 3 turns.
But this is again where we took it. We looked how the game was going, and we both went. I mean, if I'd have been pushing your shit in at a tournament, I'd have just gone great for the kill.
Yeah, it'd have been
smash. Game would have been over. Turn 2, and we'd have had 2 hours to stand around going, "Oh, right, what we're going to do." But we're not playing like that. We're playing narrative. So I went, well, let's bring your tanks back on. You know, it was the Ghoul campaign. You were the inbuilt defenders. So why wouldn't you have access to reserves? You know, realise. But, you know, we all know that reserves are notoriously bad for turning up on time. So your reserves turned up. What did we say? D6 units came back on.
4 came back, and they all came back. That was the other thing, wasn't it? My Thunderbolt didn't turn up, did it? Until it automatically did.
Because I got the Damocles sat at the back, so you were coming in on a. Did I have the Damocles with me? Yeah, because I was coming in on 2s, wasn't I?
Yeah.
Oh, did I have the Damocles?
I can't remember.
I must have.
I rolled,
I
rolled 2, 2, and 2 anyway, didn't I? So it wasn't coming on anyway.
And then your Thunderbolt was coming in against my Dorado, which. Didn't have to do anything other than sit and wait for the Thunderbolt because everything else was punishing you. So the Dorado just sat and waited for its prey.
It took out the last cannon before it got to fire, didn't it?
You knew coming in that you were going to get hammered by heavy anti-air fire, you know. And actually, after the last couple of games for my trip up to 30k channel, that Dorado Dreadnought is brutal. He's earned his stripes, that boy.
You've got a lot of firepower in what isn't really. You look at it and you see your 3 lots of vets, and you don't look at it as an artillery list. But what have you got? You have got your 3 quads. You've got your whirlwinds.
Yeah.
Haven't you? You've got your Dorado. Then you've got your Venator. So you've got a lot of long range, high strength, low AP firepower. An ability to take out armour, or at least disable and slow it down, and you just your shooting was great, and it stopped. You shot first really, and it stopped my return fire. So I had a fair amount of shooting, but the first turn was going to be crucial, wasn't it? Potentially it was going to be crucial, especially if whoever went first had a really good range. If I got first turn and I fired as well as you did first turn, I could have taken out your Venator or something like that, which would have made it a lot easier to focus fire on your knight. So it could have been a little bit different then. But yeah, it's just and Heresy's like that. It's early turns can make the game. You can. It's one of those games, and it happens. I'd say sort of 1 in 3. By turn 2 where it's going, and that's just because there's so much heavy firepower. But it's not going to be my normal list. It's and it's taught me a little bit about things I needed. I ordered a couple more tanks since then. I've got a storm all ready to paint up anyway. I've got some Ogrins which aren't exactly first choice in most people's lists, but I just love the models, and they're gonna ride in their big Stormlord taxi. Some games, not all games. But yeah, it's to be fair, I've got a play solar auxilia for the aesthetic, not because I think they're going to be the best thing. I know they can be really don't get me wrong. I know they can be really, really powerful. A lot of people struggle with them. I don't think I'm going to play the kind of lists that people make them super powerful with. I don't really want to go mass infantry with them because I don't want to paint all that many. But I will have I'll get lots of experience playing with them, and I will learn. I'll learn how to use them against what will mainly be Legion armies, which is always going to feel difficult at times, especially when you've got legionaries that outnumber my strength 3, toughness 3 men.
Yeah, I mean, how many infantry did you have? You had your 10 section and your 10 Marines.
No, it's 20. This last section is 20, but I didn't have my Medicaid guys, so they would have given me 5 up, feel no pains. So there's 3 more bodies there as well, and that'd make a bit of a difference.
Yeah.
At least
I'm rocking 40 Space Marines anyway, so.
Yeah, exactly. And I would have had it was 10 Marines, and I would have doubled that up because it would have been 20 Velatari. So that would have made a bit of a difference. And then I'm generally going to be running between 7 and 9 Ogrins in a Stormlord as well, because that's quite a lot of attacks. So it's gonna feel like there's a little bit more in my normal list as well. But I will no doubt make lots of changes over the coming months with them and work out what works and what doesn't work. And I will get to shoot first sometimes. Sometimes I won't. I'm not always going to have first turn where 3 of my 4, 5 tanks are pretty much out of the game straight away. So and that'll make a difference as well. But
I mean, my list is quite a brutal Alpha Strike list anyway. It's designed to punch quite hard in the first turn anyway. So that's never going to help. When you're not playing. Again, it comes down to the fact, like I said, I mean, I know I'm going to make some changes to my list after the escalation event, because 3 quads of Scorpus, isn't the most enjoyable thing to play for people. It fits my army suits it. I'm doing, it's not me just going out and buying the most whack thing. But like I said to you, whenever I make a list, the first thing to go out of the list to make room for points are quad mortars. They're great, they're points efficient, blah, 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 blah. So they're the first things to go. I was talking to somebody earlier about the list I was talking to you about, the sort of more tank heavy, the more kind of heavy armoured list that I was looking at.
Yeah.
And he's, the first comment was, you drop your Scorpus and your 3 quad mortars. I thought they were auto includes. I was like, well, they are, and that's why they're the first things out of the list, because I want to build something that isn't full. I mean, it's my first Heresy army, so I've gone for the things that are good and strong, and now I'm like, I got that. I know I've got a list that I can go and hang with the big boys and throw some stuff around and stuff like that. So now I'm looking at thinking, right, well, let's try some other things. Like I picked up an Achilles Alpha while we were there. It's a bloody strong unit, to be fair. When you look at it, it's a scary old tank, but it's not the sort of thing you see every day on the list on the field. So let's have a go with it. And I built quite a brutal list around it, to be honest. It's quite tough with a Fellblade and another Land Raider full of Terminators, and still got 30 vets in it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, that sometimes you can build. It's not just how brutal the list is. So I think you could have an equally as good list.
Yeah.
But it's about that balance of how the other player will feel when they're up against it. If they feel like there's nothing they can do, and it's a long range barrage, and there's when you think that there can't be anything else to fire, and it's not just one more thing, it's another two things or something. I think that's the kind of games that upset people. It didn't upset me, it doesn't bother me at all. But imagine if I always played that list that you had there, I would think, I would. It's like anything. You play the same thing all the time, but you'd start to hate the quad mortars because you've got them and this and the thing. So I think it's anything on its own is all right, but it's that kind of balance, isn't it? But but again, it's about swapping your list. You've got quite a lot of models to choose from now. I'm going to have a lot of firepower. That's what they do. I've just ordered a couple of Medusas because
walked out of our game and went, I need more Medusas.
Well, the Lehman Russ are fun and cheap, but they are, the Vanquishers are just one shot, and it's very easy for them to just do nothing, isn't it? And I was a bit short because I'm not going to run the Baneblade that often, and then I was short on low AP firepower really, so I needed to find ways of getting myself some higher AP, and we looked at the Valdor as an option. It was between getting a Valdor, running two Medusas, and while the Valdor was strength 10, 8. Is it strength 10 or strength 9?
Strength 10, it's the same
10 AP, so AP1, isn't it? It's two shots because it's ordnance. Or the Medusas, which are strength 10 AP2, but you've got your two large blasts, so and you can get two shots from those for basically 40 points more. I think it works out. You can add other extras and things, but I dropped the tank commander because I didn't feel like it was worth running a tank commander and a Medusa, because that extra pip of BS isn't going to make an awful lot of difference when you're reducing in 1 inch off a scatter on a large blast anyway. I just thought they were a little bit more versatile, so I could ping them at some armour. Or if they scatter off, they might hit something softer. And you might miss a tank and land on an infantry blob, and you're not going to complain when you land a large blast on, and the AP2 is going to do some damage. So I think they're a bit more versatile. I'll probably end up buying a Valdor or something like that in the future.
Yeah,
as well.
we were talking about the Valdor for shutting down super heavies, really, as your counter to, like I did with your Baneblade.
Yeah,
it's got the shock pulse rule, so it stops. That was the big thing. Is turn one I stopped your Baneblade from firing. Yeah. Which gave me breathing room that I could then. I didn't have to worry about the bloody mega blast coming in from it and causing me headaches because I've got a pie plate of doom to deal with there. So it firing into my vets when they arrive, and I'm going, shite. I've just lost a whole squad of vets, which is really damaging for my army. To lose a squad of vets. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it'll be about a balancing act, because what I don't want to do is get to the stage where I've got too much of long-range heavy firepower that I make my list unfun to play. So I want a list that can compete, but that people aren't going to be unhappy playing against. So, and as I get more experience of the list, then I might need to tone down more as well. We'll see how it goes.
I don't think there's anything wrong. People got any
Solar Auxiliary players, send me some lists in. Talk to me about what you do. I'll always go with the models I like first, because I'm a bit stupid like that, unless it's too cheesy. But I've bought, I've probably got about 3-5 I can play with all the stuff I've got. But that, there's 2 Lord of Wars in there. But you're probably players are probably going to say, well, you need to run more infantry. That's what they're strong at. Maybe that is the way. We'll see how it goes. But Solar Aux players out there, tell me what you run and why you run it and what kind of game you play. It'd be interesting to see. I've written a few different lists. I've written an all mech list where I run my Laz section in Dracosan as well. So no, I haven't. There is one when I do that. One when I run them with 6 Ogrins in the Stormlord, so everything's in a tank. That it looks cool, but whether it's effective or not, I don't know. I think everything's probably safe while it's in the tanks, but when they actually have to get out and secure objectives, they'll probably get minced. But yeah, anyone that's played them, talk to me and send me in some stuff. It'd be interesting to see what people are doing with them, because you might inspire me to go and spend some more money.
It's never a bad thing, spending more money on more toys.
Because I don't know what I'm doing. I haven't got a clue. They just look shiny. They look nice, so I bought them.
That's the most important thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that was Warhammer World. It was pretty good. We're going to get a battle report up online with a bit more detail on it, and the pictures are up online, and You got yourself registered on Oz 30k today, didn't you, Stu? You got your army set up.
Yeah, I finished it last night. I was finished putting my background in. I haven't done that since I was probably 15. Written any background or fluff for an army. It was an odd thing to do. I didn't do it for the fists because I ran Pollux and it just felt wrong to write fluff for something that was already locked in my mind. And I love narrative games with narrative scenarios, but I never really sort of took that beyond the game rather than actually thinking about what my army was. I know a lot of people name their sergeants, they name their captains and stuff, and I'm not knocking anyone that does that, but I haven't done that since I was a teenager. I'm well past that. But I enjoyed writing a little bit of something. I might keep adding to it. I don't know, but it's just nice to have a little bit of background fluff there that explains what my army is. So I've managed to come up with something that kind of keeps them sitting on the fence, so they're not traitor or loyalists. They're kind of more at it's a solar auxiliary cohort attached to a rogue trader who kind of first and foremost wants to make sure that he ends up on the winning side at the end of the heresy. So this gives me an army that I can play either side. So when we play games, it's no more yellow on blue, which you were talking about earlier, because it just gets boring trying to. There's no narrative when you're playing fists against Ultramarines. You're just
it's
playing
fine to play a game and have some fun. And
we have a laugh. It's laid back, but if you want to have a fun scenario that makes the game more exciting, it just takes it away from it a little bit. So now I've built an army with a background that can work for either side. It should help that a little bit, and if I go to events and things, I can also help the organisers out by playing which other side they need me to balance things out.
It's so handy when you've got Mechanicum and sort of solar players or militia players who can go either way. I mean, then you want to come up against people like Brendan Hickey or bloody, I'm a Mechanicum loyalist, I don't want to go.
I think you'll find that Brendan's voice is much sexier than your impression there. That was awful.
No, he sounds exactly like that. Don't be fooled. It's all done in post-production. Jason spends hours going through and giving him
slowing his voice down.
Yeah. No, he's a very sexy man. We had this discussion on boldness and evolution earlier, didn't we? And apparently, the more hairy you are, the more evolved you are, the less evolved you are. And I said, well, because obviously Johnny's bold, so I said, are you evolved? Jason's unevolved, and is Brendan in the middle? And then apparently it turns out that Brendan's beer is augmetic. Anyway, it's full of nanobots. So there's some interesting conspiracy theories floating around today. So. What else have I been doing lately? I've been. We hadn't put the Tarsus tickets on sale before the last show, had we?
No.
That was mental.
Yeah, that was crazy, wasn't it? It was.
That was absolutely insane. We put the Tarsus tickets up, and I threw them up at 2:00 in the afternoon on a Tuesday, just as like I better get them up. People are going to want to buy them, kind of thing. Better get on with it. Thinking, I'll take a day or two to sell. There'll be plenty of time for people to get a ticket. And 3.5 hours it took to sell 30 tickets and get 15 on the reserve list, which was absolutely insane. So my apologies if you missed it out. We will next time we do Tarsus tickets. We'll make an announcement about when they're going to go up, and we'll try and do it at a reasonable time so people have got places to plan. But, genuinely, we didn't think it would sell that fast. It was absolutely insane. Yeah. We managed to stretch Incom Gaming out to another 2 tables. We managed to get the first 4 reserves in. So we're up to 34 players now for Tarsus, which is pretty wicked, which is pretty good. We're going to try, obviously. The problem is now we physically don't have the space for any more tables. So we're struggling. But obviously, as reserves, we've got reserves. So first come, first serves on the reserve. So we've got a list of everybody who shouted as soon as they could. And if spaces come available, we'll get you on there. We want to get more people on there. But it gives me more emphasis to maybe do something even bigger next year. So keep your eyes peeled. Maybe Tarsus will be bigger. Maybe there'll be multiple Tarsusi, whatever it is. Tarsai, Japsai, Tarsai. So just thanks for everybody who's come along, who bought a ticket and made it sell out insanely fast. We got quite a good crew of the people who've been before. We've got some new faces coming down as well, so we're gonna, obviously show that about. We've got a few prizes for the day, so if you've not seen the event pack, there's no prize for first place. I don't care how well you've done. If you don't be a cool guy, I'm not giving you anything. So the general thing is the prizes will be token gesture. You'll go home with something for winning, but we're going to pump most of the money that normally gets spent on prizes into a player's pack. So everybody's going to go home with cool shit from Tarsus, because we don't want, we're not a tournament, so there's no prizes for winning, as we always say. So why can't we share the love between everybody? Why can't everybody go home with something cool? So that's what I want to do. Everybody's going to go home with cool shit. There'll be, like I said, there'll be a trophy for people who win the painting prizes, or the coolest dude prize, or the story prizes. So there's a reason to go out there and do those things. But everyone's going to go home with something to remember Tarsus by, even if it is just an STI.
You're giving those out yourself, are you, Tom?
Yes, lunch between each round, I will be giving dodgy hand jobs around the back of the Income Gaming bin. So
you don't need to use that, do you? You can use the ready-made booths upstairs.
Yeah, the dirty sex booths upstairs. Yeah, dirty sex booths. We'll just make people sit on that couch. I think I caught something looking at the couch. I'm pretty sure Chip's running some kind of dodgy, one of these casting couches upstairs. There's definitely some weird stuff going on upstairs at Income, but. Yeah, I shouldn't say that, because I'm most likely going to sleep in that room on Tarsus night.
Really?
Yeah, because it's that or sleep in Chip's office, and I don't really want to sleep in an office in a room where Chip's got the only key to it.
Ooh.
It's not good. So yeah, it was just a little thing to say, guys. Thank you very much. We're working on. Well, we got the format. We know how the show's going to go, and the guys who've been before know that how we run the event and what sort of theme to come to, but we're working on lots of cool stuff, lots of good fun things, lots of insane narrative things to go on, and fun and shit to go out, because like you say, Stu, we talked about our game earlier, like if it had been a whack, a straight up and down, just let's see who can punch each other in the face, I'd have tabled you 2-2, and that would have been our day. Narrative gaming doesn't mean not being competitive. Both of us wanted to win that game. We both came to play to win.
You want to play. You want a tactical challenge to the point where you can feel like you're in the game.
But we also wanted the freedom that our game felt like it had a purpose, because obviously we're doing the Golloch War mission, so we felt like we're part of a bigger, blooming environment. It had a reason. There was a reason your Solar Orcs were taking on my army, but also it gave us the excuse that when we wanted to do something a bit different, the game was going one way, we wanted to carry on, we wanted to keep playing. We just made it a bit different, and we created something a bit out of the ordinary, and we just thought, well, we'll do this, and that makes it more fun for us, and that's what narrative gives you, is the ability just to go, well, this is fun, so should we just do this because it's fun? And that's the great thing, we just get to do what's fun, rather than getting a salty taste in our mouth because we've had our shit pushed in and they haven't even given us a rusty trombone. So, we want to have fun. So, I mean, you probably see me using now on Twitter the latest and greatest hashtag narrative agenda, because, that's what we want. We want theme, we want story, we want fun, we want to feel like the games actually mean something, not just I beat your ass, I've done something with this game. It kind of meant something, because let's face it, all of us got into the heresy for the stories, because nobody got in this game because they thought it was going to be a slick, ultra-competitive, hardcore, balanced game in the world. It's not. Fucking 40k rulebook is, Jesus Christ, it's a hell of a thing, isn't it? Even if the two of us were stood there going, oh, that don't make any fucking sense. We're playing. But, so don't try and worry about it, just work it out. We worked out a couple of rules queries between us, didn't we? And then we just went, well, let's have fun. We got a story out of it and we've had fun. So that's what we want to see. We want to see lots and lots of narrative agenda, lots and lots of people smiling and having fun with their models. And you're a fucking grown man playing with toy soldiers. Don't take it too bloody seriously.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. So,
and where did you acquire this Stormlord from then, Stu? Because I don't think you told me about this. Where did it come from?
I think it was a Facebook site request. It was very helpful. The first comment was very helpful. Someone said, Games Workshop, buy it from the store. which is always funny. I've never seen that comment before. No, no. In a buy, sell and trade Facebook group, when anyone got one of these to sell, Goose Virtual. So yeah, that was good. But no, there's a really nice guy who Robert Lee sorted me out. Got a really good deal on it. Got all the options magnetised. I've just built it as a Stormlord, to be honest with you. I'm not gonna. Not kept the other options open.
I blew your Baneblade up twice. You've decided you don't really want to play with Baneblades anymore.
No. Well, I've got a spare turret and I've got some of the other bits, so I probably can make another option out of it. But there's some extra bits for scenery. I've already used one bit for a base of my Lord Marshal. But I'm going to I'll keep the bits just in case I do want to build another super heavy from my existing Baneblade probably.
Yeah.
But by changing the turret over, but I imagine if I buy another super heavy, it'll be Stormhammer anyway, which is probably the best Lord of War option for the Solar Auxilia.
I like the fact you're scared.
150, 60 quid, and that wasn't going to be my. That's why I bought the Beyblade, because I got it for 40 quid. It was a way of getting a Lord of War, which meant that I could get 2.5 on the table, playable, first, and then I've gone with the Stormlord because I wanted to put give my Ogrins a taxi. But yeah, it was really nice to go. So thanks, Robert. He doesn't listen to podcasts. He didn't know what a podcast was when I was chatting to him. He did say he was going to give us a listen. I said I would give him a shout out on episode 11. So if he's made it this far, well done.
Already.
Yeah, we're probably normally better than this, but yeah. So thanks, mate. Thanks. It was a really good deal, and it's already glued together and primed. But I need to put it away now because I've got lots of commission work to do and cannot afford no time to be distracted by getting that done.
Activating purple yet, or have you got a little bit more?
No, that's yes. I'm starting that this week. I've finished something else off this morning, but that's tomorrow. I start painting purple again. Well, start prepping. I've got to magnetise some weapons and sort out some build issues on a Mastodon.
Reddy's been putting his willy in the Mastodon again, hasn't
he? Yeah, no, he had lots of problems while building it, and
he did say it was a pucker of a kit.
Yeah, and it's the same problems that a lot of people seem to have had, where bits just physically don't go together. It's not a matter of heating them and bending them; they seem to be out of
missing bits.
Not missing. It's just the sites. There must be some shrinkage somewhere, and the bits just don't go together. So to get it to fit one way, it's physically impossible for it to go to the other. So I'm going to have a look at it and see whether. I think there's a little bit I've seen that I can file. We don't want to, Freddie said to just glue the roof on. I'd like to get to the stage if I can do it so I can still have the roof completely removable. But we'll see. I'll see what I can do. It might mean doing a bit of gap filling with some plastic card rather than just putty, so that there's actually something built on there that covers a small gap. If I can do it neatly, but I'll have a play with it. But cool stuff to paint anyway.
That Mastodon in the wild for when we were at Warhammer with the guys from Emperor's Path who were playing their bigger pockets.
Yes.
When you put it on the table with models, it really emphasises just how fucking big that thing is, isn't it? It is a chunk of a thing.
It's a lovely kit. It's really nice. I mean, it's the first I've not held one until I got the one that Freddie sent over, and it's lovely. Makes me want one. When I first saw pictures of it, I didn't like it. And just thought, it's fair enough, but it doesn't do anything for me. I do like it. Very nice. Whether I have one or not, I don't know. At least doing the job I do, I get to paint stuff that I don't own myself.
Can scratch that edge sometimes, can't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes it's enough. You paint something, you think, well, yeah, I've done that, and that's fine now. Sometimes you have to do it 100 times. But I've got a lot to paint for him, and I've got some more coming next month. So I will have painted quite a lot of purple by the time we get to the summer, I think. Yeah. So anyway, thanks for Robert for the sorting out the Stormlords. I give Jason White a shout out. He was a listener and a client. I sent him his night off last week that I finished for him, and he's really happy with it. So most of my clients aren't listeners, but I know he is. So.
Super special client because he listens to your crap as well.
Absolutely, super special client, super special rates. No, not really, but no, he's really happy with his toys, which is what you want when you get a message when someone's received their toys, and if they're really, really excited about the paint job you've done for them, it's actually that nice fuzzy feeling you get. It's cool. It's nice to be able to.
Oh, we got to mention we got some real life Battlefield data on Rust, didn't we? When we were up at Warhammer World, didn't we?
Yeah, from Sam from Empress Path, which you just reminded me that he popped over and said hello as well. So
we met Sam. Sam.
Yep, Sam.
Sam from Empress Path. He popped over and said hello. They were playing a Mega Apocalypse game. Yeah. With all kinds of carnage going over, and he got Russ on the table. And I asked him, I said, how bad is he? And he said, well, he's just run into Perturabo, and Perturabo's on 2 wounds, and Russ didn't do anything. Russ kind of bounced off him, and he was like, yeah, it doesn't seem that bad. And then we settled down, we finished our game, we went and settled in for lunch, and Sam popped, I think he was on his way to the loo, wasn't he? He stopped to say hello, and he said, yeah, I take it back about Russ. He just finished Perturabo in one go, then bounced into Mortarion and flattened Mortarion in one go, and he was like, yeah, he just killed 2 Primarchs in 2 turns. I was like, fuck. Absolute slagged him. So, yeah, Russ seems, he seems brutal, but he doesn't seem unstoppable. He might bounce off things, but he tends to bounce off them once and then go through them a second time. Like a good Vindaloo, go through you a second time.
That's one game, isn't it? I mean, that is what people think is going to happen on paper. It may well be the case.
It's just good to have to wait and see. That happened in a big game with lots of shit going on.
Yeah,
it's like I said, mass hammers all well and good. You sit there and you can do the sums, but it doesn't take into account. I think I mentioned before a couple of times. Sometimes you don't make the mathematically best decision because it's not the tactically right decision. You might make a choice that isn't optimal because it actually benefits the rest of your army. So math hammer doesn't always take into account the whole game. But it's good to get real battlefield data. This happened and this happened for real. So. Russ seems good. Like I said, I don't think Sam was coming over and going, oh my god, he's OP, he's broken. He's tabled 3 armies in 3 turns, but Russ seems strong in combat, especially against other Primarchs, which he should be. That's absolutely right. But yeah, we're going to go into we're going to have some guys, Pete and I'm sorry, I've forgotten the other guy's name. Pete and Dan. Pete and Dan. Sorry, Dan. That's pretty bad here. Pete and Dan,
Uplander and 1K Sun from on Instagram, and they were on 30K channel for been on twice now. They did the Book 7 review show, and they did a battle a few episodes before, didn't they? So we've snagged them. We like what they did, and we snapped them for our next episode. And then we're going to go, spend a long time, probably a good hour with each, talking on each legion, and talk to them about everything, rules, fluff, and hobby as well, because they're both really good hobbyists. They're good painters and they do lots of conversions and things. So all round narrative hobby gamers, just what we like here at the Geno. That sounds really cheesy, but it's
just what we like.
Absolutely. But we're looking forward to that. It's going to be. I'm looking forward to recording it because it's going to be a really good chat, and they're going to be subject matter experts rather than us, so we can ask questions and listen rather than have to try and come up with the answers for stuff. Get people on that know what they're talking about. That's always the way.
Yeah. So I mean, we'll give you a brief sort of idea, roughly what the plan is, because obviously Inferno's out. We're going to have a bit of a brief chat on Inferno as a book as a whole today. So we're going to have a look at an overview and bits we like from the fluff and pictures and the feel of the book and a general chat. And then I think we're going to do Wolves and 1K Suns army list next episode with Pete and Dan. Oh God, I'm going to remember it by the time I actually talk to him. And no, that's fucking embarrassing. I'm sorry, guys, but I'll get there. So we're going to go through that with them and have a really good chat about the army list. We want to get some people on who are really passionate about those armies and talk to them. I think the episode after we're going to do Talons of the Emperor.
Yep, Talons and the other bits.
I'm going to spaff off about Mechanicum for a while.
Because that's going to be your next project, isn't it?
Yeah, I've got a bit of a Robo Rod on at the moment, so we're gonna have some filthy Robo talk. So yeah, so that's vaguely the plan, guys. I mean, as always, subject to change, subject to if the Emperor model drops next week with a fucking rule sheet, we might well divert into some slightly other topics, but that's roughly the plan, guys. That's what we're going to do. So I think anything else you wanted to mention at the start, Stu?
I think we need to give Carl a shout out for buying a mug and slyly leaving it in the background of a picture he posted of some work in progress. So, Carl, we need to get a sticker to Carl. So whether that's Carl lives fairly locally, we do bumper him occasionally. So whether that's up at Incom or whether that's posting it to him, we'll have to I'll message him tomorrow or something and get some stickers to him if he wants them.
Yeah. We should mention he's Studio Dropship on Facebook, isn't he?
Absolutely. It's not just Facebook. It's a blog.
Yes.
It's a Twitter handle and Instagram as well. The guy's a really awesome painter. Puts us to shame. He's really, 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 really good. Technically brilliant. He's doing ultramarines and
he picked the right legion.
Different palette to yours, isn't it? Very different.
Yeah, you could probably put the two armies next to each other and they would feel like they're part of the same legion, but there's definitely a different style to each one. Carl's got his really nice style and the way he's going about them, and he put me onto the cling film masking idea. I've got 9 custos wrapped up in cling film on my desk at the moment. So instead of using expensive masking tape to cover a model, wrap it in cling film, expose the bit you want to tape off the bit, the fine edge of what you want to use. So you've got a clean edge on it, but you've used a couple of inches of cling film rather than a ton of masking tape on a model. So
it's good. I used to do a similar thing with paper, but that's going to be much easier to get it where you want it. As paper was often a problem. I'd rip a little hole and stick a bit through, and then use the masking tape. But the cling film is going to be much much easier to make sure that you've fully covered what you want covered. So I think I'm going to start using it. It's a good idea.
Go and give Carl a look and give his blog and his Instagram and his Facebook page a like. He's a good dude. He's working on his Ultramarines ready for Tarsus. So watch him build that army up and get it ready. It's a gorgeous looking army. So
he does YouTube as well. He did a post to the YouTube. There's a YouTube link to how he did his basing.
Cool.
So it's a 20-minute video. It's a really good step-by-step video. And if you've not used pigments before on bases, it's a really good way of sort of showing things you can do with them. So it's well worth watching, especially if you're a beginner with pigments.
He's a man of multiple talents and multimedia heresy empire. So
he's a good teacher as well. He explains it very well. I mean, you watch some of the YouTube videos and the content's there, but the presentation isn't great. It's a really good video. So if you've never done it before, I reckon you can come away. It's really, really logical. Yeah, fast forward to the end. No, it was a good video. I enjoyed it, and check him out. And Carl, we will get some stickers to you at some point, whether it's by post or by hand. Which I suppose is a good reminder to ask everyone to come and join us on Facebook. So like our page, please. It helps get our name out there. Join our group. Join the chat in there. Head over to iTunes, leave us a positive review, please. Just like every other podcast, we should record one of these sections across all the podcasts, and then we can just
broadcast it on them all,
or just slot it in so people don't get fed up of hearing the same thing. If you do want to support us by buying any merchandise, head over to our Spreadshirt shop. I won't read out the full URL. The links in the show notes, links on our Facebook page and our Facebook group. There's t-shirts there's mugs, there's all kinds of bits and bobs. We don't get the full amounts. If you see the price on there, we don't get all of that. We're not being that greedy. It's a managed shop thing, so we get a couple of quid for when you buy stuff, but it's all going in a pot, helping us towards getting ourselves set up with a couple of decent microphones and a little mixer, so that Tom and I are on the same volume levels and we don't spend half an hour trying to get Skype to record properly, like we did again today. So we do have a few issues with that. So that's what we're trying to do, just so that we're trying to raise some money so that we can produce a slightly better quality audio for you guys, and then maybe help to meet our hosting when the bill comes round again in sort of July, August time. So we're not spending the money on hookers, even though Tom wants to. Well,
look, my hookers and champagne budget it has been downgraded to White Lightning and a shady hand job budget now. So I've got to get something out of it.
Well, you wouldn't even buy. When we were out on Friday for your birthday, Tom, and you were telling me about your poor student days, what cider did you tell me you bought?
Jesus, what was I talking about?
You said you bought organic cider from Waitrose.
Oh yeah, but that was
any student, anyone from the UK knows that Waitrose and organic cider doesn't really scream student, does it?
Yes, but what you do is, what is studenty is going into a shop and working out what is the strongest cider and most cider you can get per penny. So we've worked out that while the Waitrose organic cider was expensive, it was also 8 or 9%. And two or three bottles of that was much better than buying a bottle of White Lightning at like 3% and basically eroding your liver. So
White Lightning isn't 3%,
isn't it? I don't know.
No, it's very strong.
I live with two vegans. They were weird.
Yeah, that's why you were in there when you see Tom doesn't sound posh, but maybe he is a little bit. Organic cider from Waitrose as a student.
No, Stu, I showed you pictures from my students.
I used to drink White Lightning and put Vimto in it just to make it palatable.
I proved to you I wasn't a classy student. Anyway, I'm chatting. We got the Escalation Painting Escalation Rises event coming up in April, which I'm thoroughly smashing my list out to get done for. And I'm actually in the Facebook chat because there seems to be a couple of Southampton locals down there, and we're discussing the various grotty nightclubs in Southampton that we're going to take various people to for the weekend. So that's got me all hot and bothered under the collar for some serious 50p pint drinking again. So it should be good fun. But yeah, actually on that, while Stu's been fannying about, breaking all the computers to get the audio right, I've been reading their event pack because, I've only had the event pack 4 or 5 months. Well, why not wait until list submission to actually read the event pack? And Jesus, man, they've really gone to town with the narrative stuff. They have got every table. They've got 20 planets, each one with its own sort of flavour and rules and environmental hazards. I looked at one table. It's like if you haven't got void hardened armour, you're taking a strength 4 AP3 blast hits with Radphage. I'm like, none of my army's got that, and it's all got 3 up armour. I'm gonna die. Just doing a obliterator. I'm gonna send Brendan's Mechanicum in on that. You go, fuck it. Send the Robo Men in the Radphage. They'll do that job. So, oh man, yeah, I'm really excited for that event. It is looking top class. The guys at Escalation Painting have been putting a lot of effort into that. I know Charles has posted some pictures with just like 10 tons of scenery that he seems to be painting. He doesn't seem to be doing anything but painting scenery at the moment. Other than running a painting studio that seems to be knocking awesome paint jobs out left, right, and centre. He seems to be painting mad scenery everywhere. So, looking forward to that Escalation event as well. That's going to be good. And I'm going to take my outside broadcast kit down there. So hopefully we'll catch some Sons of Heresy and some various other people from the Heresy world for some shit talking while we're down there in April as well. It should be good fun.
Yeah, absolutely. You travelling around, providing all the content for the show from your gaming, and I'll just stay at home and deal with a child. It'll be fine.
Yeah, but you're the one actually making the show go out. Otherwise, I'd just be a lonely man roaming around the Heresy world, recording my own stuff, talking to myself.
I'm doing the fun stuff. I'm the equivalent of doing the washing while you go off and gallivant and go to the pub with your friends and things.
Hey, we're going a romantic weekend away in Cardiff, aren't we?
We are, but yeah, that's my that's when's that? October, isn't it?
October, Ruination.
Yeah.
It'd be good because we got Tarsus, which will be quite hectic from the running side of things. It'd be nice to go to an event and just chill out and enjoy the event. So Sam, our buddy from Firestorm Games, is putting that on. So it looks like there's a bit of a heavy Gino and Incom crew going down there. Isn't there? There's talk of getting a Heresy flat for the weekend and generally having some fun and games down there, isn't there?
Yeah, it'll be good. It'll be really good. Definitely looking forward to it because I think it's the only full event weekend away that I might do this year. So you can do all your travelling because you're off to Gibraltar this weekend, aren't you?
Yeah, off to Gibraltar for no retreat. That's going to be all right. Going to see Jens making Fight a Monkey. Generally go and see some dudes. It should be quite good fun.
Haven't you just recorded at the 30k channel as well?
Yeah, just been up and seen Mr. Brains at the 30k channel, and he made me drink a lot of beer as well that evening, which was good fun. I can't really give too much away from that because obviously if I start talking to you about the event, why are you going to watch the video? So, but April, I believe that's out, and I have recorded a little bit with him, so we'll have him. There's a little pre-recorded interview after our game to go out when that goes out. But obviously we'll keep you updated with that when that goes out. So yeah, it looks all good, man. It's going to be a busy couple of months, and we got book 7 to cover and various events going on, and we might actually, have some content for once.
I'm just rambling.
So, in that note, I think it's probably, I've got to a point where I've realised that Chip has only given me 1 page for the fuel silos building that I'm built of instructions, and I now need the 2nd page. I haven't even got a completed picture on this model, so I don't know what I've got to do from here. So, yeah, I think at that point, while I go and yell at Chip on Facebook Messenger for the rest of the instructions, we'll probably go into a break, unless there's anything else you wanted to throw out there, Stu?
No, we'll see you back the other side for our little Inferno overview.
Cool.
G52 is sponsored by Incom Gaming, the new centre for tabletop wargaming in Gloucestershire. Visit incomgaming.co.uk for great savings on pre-orders and all your hobby needs. We stock many gaming systems and hobby accessories and can ship to anywhere in the UK. Incom Gaming is the only UK stockists of the market-leading gaming mats from gamemats.eu. Visit the store and check out how to turn your tabletop into a battlefield. Incom Gaming is based in the centre of Cheltenham and offers tables and scenery for casual and organised play with a fully licensed bar. Check out our events page for upcoming events where everyone is welcome. Save an additional 10% on Games Workshop Heresy products by using the code GINO52 at the checkout. Visit incomgaming.co.uk and help fight the betrayal. Incom Gaming. Come game, shop, drink. To shop elsewhere is heresy.
Welcome back then, everybody. And I have a lovely black leather-bound book in front of me. There is a lovely thing that has happened in the Heresy, and this is the release of Book 7 Inferno. Some of you might have heard this happen, this little thing that was released, wasn't it? It was a very understated, mild release, wasn't it? No, not much anticipation on this book, was there, Stu?
No, I don't. To be honest with you, I didn't hear anyone talking about it. I'm surprised that none of the other podcasts have mentioned it, because none of them have covered it at all, which is very, very surprising. No, it's obviously it's no news to anyone, and it's I think it's been, the dust has settled a little bit now on the newness of it. People have had time to some people have had time to get it. It's sold out. That's probably worth mentioning, which is, I didn't see that coming, to be honest with you, because I don't remember a black book selling out so quickly. And it's April now, isn't it? Before more arrive. So that shows how popular this book is. So it's a good sign for Forge World and the hobby and all of us into Heresy that a book sells out that quickly. It shows that there's still growth. It also shows there's probably a lot of people that were sitting on their Prospero plastics, maybe desperate to start their armies and needing the rules, and then the existing Wolves and Thousand Sons players that have been waiting for the last 5-6 years since Book 1 to get their rules. And then the things that surprised us, the Talons list, which we didn't really see coming until we started to get some sort of news on that in the autumn. That sort of gave everyone a new army that they didn't even expect they're ever going to get the chance to collect as well. So that's brought lots of different people in, which made this book probably one of the most important so far in terms of releases. Something, a couple of the biggest legions, and then some really, really cool stuff that people thought were only in the stories, only in the fluff, and never actually get to play. So there's lots of excitement.
Yeah, I think it's twofold, isn't it? We've this book was always going to be popular. Thousand Sons and Space Wolves are popular legions. Add in there, the opportunity that people realised that they were going to get to play with Custodes and Sisters. That maybe they're not. That was always going to give it a big. Even before we knew about Custodes and Sisters, it was always going to be a big book. And then throw in the fact we've had 2 plastic box sets, and that's drawn more people. The Heresy has grown. Just look at the podcast. We've gone from probably in 2 years, gone from 5 podcasts to 15 podcasts in 2 years.
Yeah, and it's got the last sort of 3 or 4 months. It's gone crazy as well. So
it's
gone up to 5 in the UK, 6 in the UK now. Is it 6?
Yeah. Us, Sons of Heresy, Edge of Empire, Max and Paddy, Imperial Truth. Nah, just search for Max and Paddy's Heresy Adventures. You'll definitely find it. Yeah, the Road to Terror boys. 5, 6 if you kind of class. 6 with the Spaceman with Guns.
Yeah.
Well, we've got Spaceman with Guns and
that's dual citizenship, isn't it?
Yeah, after or they're both dual citizenship. It's going to go well, isn't it? Dual citizenship podcast. Actually, I meant to say earlier. So shameless plug, I'm on the last Spaceman with Guns podcast. Go and give it a listen. It is a massive ultramarine circle jerk.
It's a good episode though. I thought to myself, do I really want to listen to your voice, having heard it so much talk about ultramarines? But I really enjoyed it. It was really good.
It was good fun. They're cool dudes, George and Dave. Go and give them a listen. We chat ultramarines for a good couple of hours and make the usual inappropriate remarks and things about various things. So yeah, sorry, slight distraction. Go and check that out. So yeah, the heresy scene has grown massively in the last 2 years. And I think it reflects in the fact, they couldn't get the book to us fast enough, and when they got it to us, they couldn't keep it in stock.
Yeah.
That shows, when you got a 75 for £80 book, that is 2/3 fluff, 2/3 story, 2/3 history.
Yeah, especially when you think that even in the rules section, you've got all of the fluff in the sidebars and things. It's usually 2/3, if not more.
Yeah, and that's driving the community. If this was a codex, for gaming purposes, you'd be sitting there going, "Well, I don't want to fucking pay 80 quid for 3/4 of a book that I'm not going to read." You'd be wanting just the slim down hardcore rules, but the heresy scene doesn't want that. The heresy scene wants fluff. I'm basically illiterate, and I've read 110 pages of this in 4 weeks. That's a hell of an undertaking for an idiot like me. And I love it. And I absolutely love it. I sit there and I read a page or two, and I take it in, and it's beautifully crafted. It's so flavourful. I've just redone listening to Thousand Suns and Prospero Burns, the audiobook. And they definitely tell the story of the battle, but from a couple of key points. They're focused on their main characters, whereas Inferno gives you a really big depth of the story. There's so many cool things here, and I'm going to say it now. There's going to be spoilers in this. I haven't read the whole book, so we're not going to spoil everything, but from what I've read, I'm going to spoil the crap out of the bits because fuck, it's brilliant. The Sons of Horus are there. And do you know what they're doing? Rounding up fucking psychers and just culling people. They're literally just rounding up Prospero citizens, culling them, and fucking stealing all the psychers. That's fucking brutal. It's insane. They're all culled. And there's an army division. I don't know if you've read. Sorry, am I going to spoil this for you as well, Stu?
Absolutely, yeah. I've not had a chance to read the fluff yet. So
you don't get a choice in this. There's a fucking army division that's refueling on Prospero. They're totally loyal, but because they're on Prospero, the Space Wolves just fucking eat them. They just munch them into the ground just for fear for being on the wrong side. It just goes to show you how brutal the Imperium already is. Well, you're on Prospero, you're fucked, mate. But we're loyal. Yeah, but you're fucked, mate. And they just eat them alive. It is awesome. The way it expands on the Black Library books and gives so much more depth. And it switches between being sort of a tactical analysis of the battle to individual stories and battles really well. It blends the two, so you're not just getting a very dry sort of military breakdown of it, but you are also seeing the big picture of the battle, and how everything developed. And basically, the Thousand Suns were kicking the dicks off the Space Wolves. They literally were hammering the crap out of them most of the way through the battle. And then somebody let a bit too much warp in. They snorted a bit too much warp dust, and they just started blowing their faces off, and it all kind of went to shit. But I'm going to try not to spoil it too much because it is fucking epic. Go out and get the book, read it, enjoy it. It's a fine piece of writing. But yeah, that's really good. The Battle of Prospero is fantastic. How far have you got through, Stu?
So I've not started any of the fluff. I've just not had time in the evenings to sit and read it. I spent the whole of last week only spare time trying to paint that Solar Auxilia, funnily enough, for our game on the Friday. But I've dipped into the rules that I was most interested in. So I dipped into the Talon stuff just to see really how to build the plastics I've been sitting on since the Prospero box was released, and looking at ways of sort of using them. But I'll talk about that a little bit later, I suppose. I think the way we were going to handle this really was just talk about what was in the book. We're not just going to read the contents out, but just in case there's anyone out there who, doesn't listen to doesn't go on the same Facebook groups or listen to the same podcasts as everyone else, or is not 100% sure what's in the book. We'll give you a bit of an idea of what the book's about. So if you didn't already know, it only covers Prospero as a campaign really, and the forces that were there. So some of the other black books have got sort of multiple campaigns, or can cover a bit more of a timeline. This is really focused on the one battle, and very much the fall of Tisca, isn't it? The one main city. So
yeah. Well, it's the fall of Tisca because the Space Wolves turn up and fucking bomb the rest of the planet into oblivion.
Yeah, there's nothing left to record.
Left to take.
So the fluff's about that. You've obviously got the rules for the Thousand Suns Legion, the Space Wolves, the Talons of the Emperor, which is your Custodians and your Sister of Silence. There's some new Mechanicum rules, so some Secretarii, Titan Guard, and the Hoplites, which you're going to do a bit of an army based around.
We're going to get some Robo Men out.
There's a whole campaign in there with lots of new missions. Now the campaign is the Prospero campaign, so the missions aren't really. I've only skimmed them, but they're not the kind of missions that you'll be able to just play with any legions. They are very very narrative based around the campaign. So that you're not really. I don't think we're going to see them added to the rotation of the 12 that we see in events, the core ones, and then the Shadow Wars ones. I don't think you're going to see them added to that rotation. And that's it really, with all of the wonderful colour plates that are in there, which I think is one of the most exciting points from a painter's point of view. Is actually looking at everyone's waiting for what's the Forge World's official take on what these legions should look like, what are their colour schemes, and you get the odd leaked or teased plate, but when you've got multiple ones with different chapters and regiments and things and different places, it's awesome. I think. What do you think of the representations of the colours? Is it what you expected?
I'm just looking at some Thousand Sun Tartarus Terminators next to a glaive, and I'm coming down on the side. It is the candy coat, metallic red. That's what I'm seeing in the pictures. That's what I think of when I see Thousand Suns.
Yeah.
And looking at the pictures, there's nothing wrong if you're doing the matte red. Absolutely nothing wrong. If we all painted the same things the same way, we'd just have all identical armies. But if you gave me, said go and paint your Thousand Suns army, it would be candy coat red for me. But yeah, I like it. There's the subtle ornamentation on them. They are clearly. It's this idea of bling, and they don't have lots of things hanging off them. They have a lot of, I suppose, glyphs and runes marked onto the armour, as opposed to lots and lots of, massive Egyptian headdresses and stuff like that, which is much more my cup of tea. I'm much more a transfers and markings kind of guy, rather than, I'm going to stick a fucking jackal face on stuff and things like that. But again, nothing wrong if that's what gets you hot under the collar, then fucking go and do it. Go smash it out. But for me, it's a much more subtle paint scheme. It's the candy coat red and lots of markings. And the same goes for the Space Wolves. Actually, there's a lot of. I'm looking at their Cestus Assault Ram that's in there as colour plate. It's ornate, but it's not blingy. If you get what I mean by the definition, there's not freaking wolf's head rams and wolf's head on a wolf's face on a wolf's arse. There's wolf motifs, but there's a lot more knotwork and runic inscription and geometric shapes and stuff like that marked onto it, rather than. I'm looking at the Space Wolf Terminator now. I mean, this is great radio, isn't it? I'm looking at this picture, but there's a lot of ornate marking on the armour, And there's a couple of he's got 3 what look like wolf tooths on his belt, but he hasn't got a wolf cape with a wolf head, with a wolf codpiece, with a wolf fucking wolf. Go back and listen to episode 1. Too much.
I was just going to say, I think Nick would probably approve. Haven't asked him about it, but I think he'd probably approve with what they come out with. This is exactly what we were describing in that episode, really. So I really like the wolf stuff. I think I really like the dull muted grey. I think, like you said, the absence of pelts and wolf's tails and things makes them look more. Yeah, well, they look. These rooms, they look like Viking rooms, and they look like it's real history there, rather than a bad motorcycle gang. So they don't. It's more Vikings than Hell's Angels, which is really cool. I was quite surprised. Go back to Thousand Suns. I was quite surprised the colour plates for the tanks, actually, the amount of black on there.
Yes, Mars gave a really good talk on black being a very good. I mean, if you're listening to us, you must be listening to the Age of Darkness, because quite frankly, if you're not, you're missing out. But Miles from Little Legend Studio has joined them permanently now, and he is an excellent painter. And yeah, he gave a really good talk on the the colours. And yeah, I'm looking at the colour plates for those now as well, and the black goes so well. I mean, when he first said, black as a complementary colour to the red, I thought, but then you look at it and you think, yeah, that works really, really fucking well, doesn't it? I mean,
it doesn't surprise me it works. It's a perfect thing to go with it. You can see it on Ryan Kimmel's black shields. They're a black and red scheme, and they look awesome. But I was just surprised because you don't see it. You see a lot of the candy red, and you see gold and white as an accent, and then and including their colour plates, and then you flick the page and it's page 166, 167 if you're following at home. If you're my age and you had storybooks with a tape that beeped when you had to turn the page. But yeah, it's there's no white on them, so they're red with gold and black trim, which is they're very, very different. But I quite like it. It is very much like the Blood Angels colour plates that were in book 6. There was a couple of colour plates for Blood Angels, wasn't there? A couple of teaser ones, and they look similar to that. But so you were saying, flick a couple of pages on. Oh yes, loads of whites on the
which goes to show you can do both. And I think actually in an army, the contrasting of a lot of white on some and more black on the others would look stunning. If you look at the models on 168 and 169 and put those next to the Proteus and the Rhino on the page before, it wouldn't look odd. It would look brilliant together. I mean, they've done the marbling on the white. It's stunning.
Yeah, absolutely. It gives you ideas, because you could say, well, I'm going to take those black areas. I don't want them to be black. I'll do them white as well. And you have just a white and red. So it just gives you, hopefully, it gives people some ideas other than just doing the candy red, and giving them some different accent colours, which means you can see some variety in different armies. What I really like is, and I'm sure it's just the way the light is, but the way that the canopy on the Xiphon actually looks kind of white.
It looks marbled and white, doesn't it?
It's cool though. It works. I wouldn't have ever thought to do it like that way, but I reckon you could paint it that way and it would look cool as well. It looked like you've put Windoline on the inside of your windows and not washed it off, but probably quite dangerous for flying. But it looks cool. It looks really cool.
Looks like you got a dodgy Eastern European car wash job.
God.
And then I'm looking forward to I'm not going to be able to pronounce this now, but the Legio that supported the Thousand Suns, Legio Titanicus that supported the Thousand Suns. I mean, they've got some beautiful colour plates for their army, and some beautiful images in there. Blue and white and gold, but not an ultramarine cobalt blue, quite a pale blue, and marbled white again. It looks stunning. There's a colour plate of a Reaver on page 182 if you're playing along at home. It's a really, really nice paint scheme for a Titan. So, yeah, I mean, it's jammed full of beautiful looking models. I mean, before we started recording, you mentioned the Domitar, didn't you, Stu?
Yes, it's 177, I think that's on. It's just a very, very different colour scheme. It's almost looks yellow when you first glance at it, but it's probably a kind of a coppery gold colour with a metallic. It could be like a candy coat type green
Almost like an oak colour, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really cool. Really, we've described loads of different colours meaning the same thing, but it's a metallic sort of goldy copper. But it's really smart. If I was going to do any Mechanicum, I think I'd go for something like that. I love all the silvers and reds and blacks that you see, but you do see a lot of that. Obviously, Brendan's are orange, aren't they?
That really stands out
because it's different, and I think that's what he's tried to do, is go and do something a little bit different. But this is a different scheme again. I really like it. So, not that I've got any Mechanicum. I could have some allies for the Solar Auxilia maybe one day. Might go them in that sort of colour.
I'll get you a Robo Hard on one day.
That's when I get really old and I need it to help.
What did you think about? I mean, the custodes are the custodes, aren't they? They are golden warriors. But the interesting one in there is the black custode, isn't there? Which has caused a lot of interest, which I thought was really cool. Actually, it's very vague. It's very doesn't really tell you why it is. He just kind of goes, "Yeah, this dude was here. We don't really know why he's in black armor, but he hung around the starport and he was a badass." But it just shows you that you can, sort of adds credence to that. Well, if you want to do something a bit different, if you can think of something, don't go and, you can go off piste a bit. They don't just have to be, straight up gold. I mean, the Contempts are on page 118 with the black and red accents on the shoulder, the red shoulder pad, the black shoulder pad, and the black greaves. It's really nice. Really. You don't just have to get your counter attribute to gold out and spray the whole thing gold and that's it. You can do things with that paint scheme to make them interesting.
Yeah, I think they've always been good at giving some alternative colour plates to give you a bit of something to get your imagination going. I haven't read the Fluffton aside of the black custodian yet, but I'm sure there's a. Sure, it says what it say. He was a custodian sub-force known as the Warders of the Vaults of Rhython. There you go.
Yeah, and that's about all you get out of him.
Yeah, God knows what that is. Who knows?
It just makes you think, well, there is something else to do with it, isn't there?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. It's quite a nice scheme. I don't think I painted enough black recently. I probably wouldn't go and do that. But the temptation is always there when everyone's painting a certain colour to go and try and do something different. But maybe even just for a character or something. Might be an idea, but he does look rather cool because there's enough other colours on there. There's almost a whitish silver around the edge of his shoulder pads, and there's lots of gold trim on there. I think we might see it. I think I've already seen a few on Instagram. People have seen that colour plate and taken some inspiration from it.
Yeah, it's definitely sparked some interest, which is great because it, again, if we saw 200 shiny gold armies, it's nice to have some other things going on as well. So it's definitely cool. I mean, my general overview of the book is the fluff and the artwork and the quality that we come to expect from the book in terms of its production is there. There are, I mean, if you've been around on the internet, there are a few things that have been put in there deliberately to as sort of Easter eggs, the parking lot at Tisca and, those kind of things. And why not have some fun with some Photoshop in the back? If it's a mistake, it's a mistake. If it's them trolling us, fair play, it's funny. There is some problems. I know Sean from ZZ Initiative was talking about some of the campaign missions are a bit... There can be a bit, there's an objective that makes all the other objectives completely bloody pointless and stuff like that. And there were some issues around it not being poor. There's a few issues around poorly written things and stuff in there. And it's hard. I mean, the book is however many hundred of pages long. It is. Let's have a look. Let's get a count on the book. It is over 310 pages long of big, heavy, text-laden things. It's a shame there are some issues and that some people feel it's maybe disappointing that it's not the quality we come to expect, but I think every book's had issues with it. Maybe there's a higher percentage of things that need addressing in this book, but overall, it's gorgeous and I like reading it and it looks awesome and it's great fun and it's added a lot for me as a fluff, from a fluff point of view, it really kind of, it's what gets me into the heresy, and things are inaccurate. History is inaccurate, and why can't future history be inaccurate?
Yeah, I've not. I mean, it depends what angle you come from with the book, doesn't it? Neither of us play any of the legions or forces in the book. We're both going to have small Talons forces, I think, just because we've got some bits from our Propero boxes. But I don't think either of us are likely to go full sort of foot into that. So if you're a Wolves player or a Thousand Sons player and you're struggling to find answers to a couple of the rules questions, and we're not going to go into them because they are covered on other casts in more detail, but there are a couple of rules things that need an FAQ straight away because they don't make sense. Then maybe you would be a little bit more kind of, I want to know how to play this. So why they made this mistake? This should be picked up in proofreading. So I suppose if you're going to make any complaints, there are a couple of minor things like that. But people like us that are kind of just looking at it for more of a fluff and a history side of thing, the rules side of things are probably not so consequential for us because it's not Ultramarines, Imperial Fist, Solar Auxilia. Well, I think as long as the rules are right for your future hoplites, you'll be all right. So it does depend on your angle, I think. At the moment, I'm not playing Space Wolves players. There's not many in locally. There's not Thousand Sons players locally, and I don't play either of those sort of legions. So the odd little rules things haven't really affected me personally yet. But it'll be interesting to see what Pete and Dan think about those things when we have them on the next show, because they will be a better gauge of whether they're really issues or whether they're easy to work around, which I imagine they are in most cases. And there are rumours that they are compiling FAQ answers already, which will be interesting to see if we get an FAQ that covers the wider community questions that have sort of been asked over the last 12 months, or whether it's just for this book. Because obviously with the pending 8th ed release, it would seem odd to do a full 7th ed / heresy FAQ update, and then for if it's going to be June, July, which the rumours suggest now, it would seem odd to get something out 2 months before a new rules release. But they've done it before.
I mean, I do understand some of the frustration for the people of Thousand Sons ways, because it's not as bad, but the hoplites that I want to do, the arc rifle is listed as having a range of 12 inches in the book. Now, Brendan from Sons of Horus caught Alan Bly at the weekender and pointed at that, and he went, "Oh no, it should be 24. That's a mistake." Yeah. It's great, and I'm not disputing Brendan at all or anything. But I rock up to an event, I play somebody who maybe isn't as into the podcast scene or things like that, and I say, "Well, this guy I know said he spoke to Alan Bly and it's 24, but the book says it's 12." It's not that I think it's broken, brokenness, but it just leads to an awkward conversation. It would be nice to have the book square, and I think that's what it's going to be the frustration for Thousand Sons players, because you get this, well, in my community group we play this way, in my community group this is the way we play. In the other community group this is where we play. I mean, I had it a little bit when I'm playing in a few different groups at the moment. When I went up to see Brendan and went up to see David at 30k channel, and they look at a rule one way, I've looked at it a different way. When we've had discussion about things, we were lucky enough that we sat there, we chatted, we went, "Oh, I do it this way." He goes, "I do it that way," and I go, "Oh, I can see why you're doing it that way. It actually makes more sense than what I'm doing." Or he went, "Oh, I see what you're saying," and it goes this way, and it's fine. You can work it out as long as you've got the time. But you turn up to an event, you built your army around something, and that person running the event doesn't see it your way. It can be frustrating, not frustrating, but you think, "Oh, well, I've got this question. Do I do this way, or do I do it that way?" And am I going to turn up to an event and my army's going to have a problem because I've done X, Y, and Z, and it's been interpreted a different way? So it's a frustration, but
and there's lots of those already across the system, isn't there? We've very recently seen the shields for the Imperial Fist Cataphracti be released, and then a few comments on there, and it seems like they're not meant for Tartarus, and the wording was always ambiguous, and seems that's the way it's supposed to be now, which is fair enough. I I never built any. Like, I still got Tartarus that I thought I might build with those shields, and I haven't, and I'm glad I didn't now, because it looks like that's the way it's going to go. But again, there are a few of those instances across the books, and we as a community we generally deal with it quite well. And this is just another example. It would be nice if there was an FAQ out. I'm hoping that the fact there's not been an FAQ is either because they're waiting for the frequently asked questions from this book, so we don't have an FAQ and then these questions still aren't answered, which would make sense, or maybe because there's a new edition that is going to make those questions irrelevant anyway. I hope we'll get something soon, but it'd be nice to have a few of those most genuine FAQs, not seems to be the ones that they put in FAQs, which you never hear anyone ask. I don't know who's asking these questions. But,
they had a whole shit ton of cakes that had the community's FAQ questions on them that got fucking eaten. But yeah, I mean, it's it would be nice. Like I said, I don't think it's from a competitive, we want to know the rules, how it is, so we can play the game and be hard as nails. It is that kind of, GW and Forge will want us to play in a relaxed community environment. We want to just have fun and tell stories, but it's got to be embedded with a core of we understand how this game is going to work. You're probably like me, so you probably play football in the playground with mates when you're in junior school and senior school and stuff. You can have a fun, relaxed game with your mates, but you all fundamentally understand the rules of football. You kick the ball with your foot, not like stupid Americans who pick it up and run it around in your hands. It's called football for a reason. You all understand fundamentally how the game is going to be played. I got to kick the ball in the net. I can't kick people in the face because that's a foul. If I get touched by a bit of wind, I got to roll over and flap my arms around like a pansy for a bit. We fundamentally, to be able to play and enjoy a game, any interaction that requires two people, you've got to have a set of rules for it. Whether that's, how you're going to give each other a hand job so you don't end up punching each other in the nuts. Anything that requires interaction with two people. I'm a bit obsessed with hand jobs at the moment, aren't I? Yeah, I think it says a lot about me.
I think we'll leave that there.
But yeah, I mean, just anything that requires two people, you need to have a framework to work within, an agreed upon framework, and the rules are our framework to build our enjoyment from. So, while there is a certain level of we need to be able to reasonably, we're all grown-ups, we should be able to interpret the intention of a rule. But when there's a rule that just doesn't make sense or is worded completely differently from any other way it is, we could do with some context for it, so that's what we need to do.
I think it's consistency, isn't it? The community doesn't mind the idea of having to come to a decision on something that's unclear, but when there's something that's so ambiguous that you get the common sense things. I think Greg was saying a lot on his show recently about his FAQ. A lot of it's just common sense stuff. That he's going to rule things that most of the community already run a certain way, but there are a few that you just can't tell either way. And you need, that's where you need the games designers' input. Not because we're not adults and we can't play nicely, is that people want to play the same around the world, and it's not the community's job to come up with their own FAQ that they then enforce on the rest of the world. People just want certain things, just need a bit of a genuine FAQ, genuine direction from it. So hopefully they understand that and listen. We know that they're not as rules focused as like Privateer Press for War Machine and Hordes, which very much their plan is to design a game that can be played competitively. So they try and make it as balanced as possible. It's not, because it's end of the day it's an abstract game using toy soldiers that aren't on squares. They're on an open table and you're measuring with a tape measure. There can't be an exact science to it. But while Games Workshop and Forge World, they say they're a miniatures company before a games company, they do rate games. It's a bit of an easy way of getting around some things sometimes, and hopefully they realise that certain things just need an answer, and a simple answer. These aren't things that they can't answer. That's not the reason why they're not doing it. There will be a reason, and whether the message isn't getting to them, I can't see that now. I don't understand, but they must. I'm hopeful because logic says there's a reason why they haven't released an FAQ recently. I think it's to do with my bet is it's more to do with 8th Ed than anything else. But I'm sure they're compiling some things now based on this. So anyway, we'll move on from that because that's been well covered in other casts as well, and people are probably fed up of hearing about it. What's your favourite parts of the book then? What's your what really gets you going?
There is so much. I mean, I think the number one is the story. You know, there is a fantastic story, and there's loads of little hints at things. There's mentions that did we lose legions to the Rangdang Xenocide? You know, there is hints that, you know, well, there's not hints. There is outright discussions that the Sokar pattern Stormbird is not the biggest Stormbird. And I've just flicked over a page and I found there's a box dreadnought with a plasma cannon in there. Long live the box dreadnought. Fuck you and your knees, contemptors.
Still not a fan of them. I haven't seen one for ages. I hadn't seen one for ages. And when we were in the Forge World store, they had them all lined up at the back of the cabinet. They just look so tiny now after sort of fielding Leviathans and even Contemptors. They just look teeny weeny little toys.
I'm gonna do a Fury of the Ancients list of all box dreadnoughts and run it at your army, so you can just take on 10 box dreadnoughts. I love them. I love them to pieces. I love the Contemptor. I love the Leviathan, but my heart will always belong to the box dreadnought. But yeah, I mean, there's just every page is just page after page after page of awesome story, amazing content. You know, we get a really good history of the Space Wars, and because you kind of don't ever think of the Space Wars without Lehman Russ, so it's great to get a history of what they were like before the Lehman Russ arrived. You know, the Lehman Russ battle tank. You know, they were screwed until they got those battle tanks. You know, we get more information on Fenris. We get, you know, I mean, I'm just looking forward to piling through more and more of this book and reading more and more. So, from your limited time with the book, Stu, what do you think what's your favourite bits?
I'm loving the artwork of Tisca. I really, you know, it's something that in a world that's so grim, dark, and industrial, as Tim Willard loves these grim industrial, it's nice to see that we can see artwork and images that show that there were normal, you know, living normal society, and then it was obviously a bright, hopeful, educated society, and I love that part of it. I love the part that it wasn't just your normal looking 40k stroke 30k buildings. It's a really different aesthetic. I think it's really unique, and you look at the pictures before it was exploded, you could think, you know, as somebody wouldn't mind going. It looks like the weather's nice, like some good beaches and palm trees down there, and have a bit of a holiday like you used to in Egypt before it wasn't really unsafe. So I love that. I think we've seen some pictures before. It's really nice to. Really nice. Which reminds me, we because we decided not to go to the miniatures gallery because we've been so many times before. We didn't go and bloody see the
we didn't
the Prospero display. Anyway, the other side is
we got distracted with beer and talking shit and throwing dice at each other.
Other than that, you know, I've only really read the Talons of the Emperor stuff. I wanted to look at what I would build. I think early signs are that the Custodies are going to be pretty powerful. It's not normally the way I game. I'm not knocking anyone that's taking Custodies as an army. They're absolutely amazing looking models, but it's probably for now, until the dust settles, going on my early inclination is they're going to be super powerful, so it's not the kind of list I'd want to play on its own, but I am going to build up the 10 I've got into in sort of usable allied detachment for bigger games. But I'll kit bash one to be an HQ, and then just build up the others as normal guys, I think, just so I can use them. I think we're going to use a few at Tarsus, aren't we? Just hand a few out to people in games to keep things interesting. I really like the sisters because the sisters are good, but they don't look like they're overpowered, so they look like they're going to be quite usable. And you can build quite nice little forces for low points. So I'm thinking about using them as allies for my Solar Auxilia. I think for 500 points, you can get an HQ Two of the basic troops, so your bolter girls with I think they're 65 points, and the ones with the swords for 85, and you stick them in a transport each, and it's like 505 points. So if you're playing a 3k game, it'd be a nice little allied detachment that I think would be useful. And useful not just as anti-psychers, because I don't think we're going to have a massive meta with 1,000 Suns being a problem, to be honest with you, once the dust settles. But in terms of supporting the Solar Auxilia, I think just having some BS4 bolter carriers might be handy sometimes, because my men are going to be so crap at they can hit a barn door probably, so they're not going to be. They're not going to, well, their las rifles aren't going to be doing an awful lot of damage all the time, so it'll give me something different. And I love we were talking about in the last episode, I love the Sisters transport. So if it gives me an excuse to get a couple of those and run a couple of units of Sisters, and it's 500 points, it'd be a nice small sort of side modelling project. So that's what I was looking at most, really, working out what I could go in Quartermaster, bashing out some lists, and looking at what I could possibly do with the models I've got. But I'm looking forward now to going back and starting at the beginning of the book and slowly working through the fluff like you are. That'll be my evening reading now. I've caught up on my Solar Auxilia painting a little bit, I think.
Yeah, it did. I mean, I don't think I'll ever do a full Custodes army. I'm enjoying painting the Custodes I've got. I did pick up Ixie and Hale while I was up at Warhammer World. Mainly so I've got an HQ. I've got an HQ, I've got a squad of shields, and I've got a squad of spears, and I'm more kind of interested in just using them as a allied force. I can, just to change up what I can do with my Ultramarines and my Mechanicum, I can just throw them in for something different into the list as well, but I don't think I'm ever going to go full custard. I got some Sisters to paint. I, again, don't think I'm going to do more than one squad. I just want to paint them. I want to enjoy them, as a unit to paint. Maybe, might do it. You never know. I might come back and do more, but at the moment, that's kind of it for me. But yeah, Talons is good. I don't think I'll ever be a Wolf player. I have been tempted by Thousand Suns many a time, mainly because I enjoyed their book so much, but it's not going to happen for a while, at least for me. But yeah, cool. I think that covers us. So as we said earlier, guys, we're going to cover the lists in more detail and go through them. If you want an excellent breakdown on the list that's already been done, go over and head and check out our friends at Radio Free Fan. Ryan and Mike have done an amazing job of going through the lists in real detail, and it's out there ready for you if you really want to go through. But like I said, me and Stu, we're going to go through the list. We're going to talk about the rules and stuff. We're going to talk about the fluff and the story as well. We want to make it, wide ranging as well, not just list bash.
Yeah, Ryan did an awesome job of his rules knowledge is really, really good. So he did an awesome job of doing a very kind of unit by unit breakdown, and I think we're going to approach it with Pete and Dan in a kind of hobbyist approach. So these guys are long-term players of these legions. So how they approach the book, how do they think that their legion's been represented in the book, and what's it's inspired them to do. I know they're going to be doing the whole campaign on the 30k channel, so I'm going to be following that. So I'm going to be working through those campaign missions. So it'll be interesting to see whether they come up with any issues with them, based on some of the things we've seen. But I think our approach is going to be interesting, because lots of people have talked about the book, and it's getting some passionate hobbyists on talking about what they're doing with their section of the book and what has inspired them to do. So it's going to be an equal amount of chat of rules, fluff and modelling, I think. So it's a good way of doing it. And then when we cover the Talons list, Kurt's going to come on. And Kurt's picked them up, like everyone else, picked them up new because they weren't available before at all. But he's been playing some games with them, whereas we haven't. So it will be a little bit, have the perspective of a new Custodes mainly player. I don't know if he's built any Sisters up, but he'll be able to talk about some of his experiences in game. We can talk. We're all going to talk about the fluff, and you've been painting some, haven't you? So you can talk about the painting side a little bit as well. And I'll be painting some for Kurt. I think he's sort of half booked me for some point in the future to get them done. And then we can talk about the Mechanicum stuff as well, because it's a list that you're going to do. So I think we're well placed to cover all the aspects of the book in a different way. So that's going to be the next 2 episodes covered, and a bit more in depth than today. All we want to do really is get back on, ramble about what we've been up to recently, launch our month on the global campaign, and then sort of give an overview on our first impressions on the book. And it is awesome, well worth getting.
Yeah, top quality book. Go out and buy it. Go and enjoy it. So cool. We'll rattle off onto a break, and then we'll be back with probably some more hobby talk then. So we'll catch you guys in a minute.
Lord Marshal Great, sir. Legion reinforcements now visible on the left flank.
About time. The wolves, I see.
No, sir. Ultramarines, sir.
But they're wearing grey, Proclamator Fennec.
Fox message said new recruits, sir. No time to paint armour. All Legion reinforcements to the right, sir.
Thank you, Fennec. Good to see the scars correctly presented.
Sorry, sir. It's more Ultramarines. New issue armour. Prime white. No time to paint, sir.
Shocking! At least the Raven Guard are in black armour.
Sorry, sir. That's more Ultramarines.
For Emperor's sake, box them and find out why.
Yes, sir. Apparently, also new armour, sir. But the sergeant says it's okay. Their eye lenses are red and the bolt guns are silver. He said 3 colours minimum, sir.
What the? Get on the Vox now and tell them to contact Miniature Realm Studio.
Miniature Realm Studio, sir?
Yes, Fennec. Miniature Realm Studio offers a commission painting service, competitive rates, and a range of painting standards to suit most budgets and requirements.
Yes, sir. Very good, sir. I suppose they do say that fully painted is for closers.
What does that even mean, Fennec?
I don't know, sir. No one really does, sir.
Miniature Realms Studio can be found on Facebook, on Twitter at Miniature Realms, on Instagram at Miniature Realms Studio, or just drop Stuart an email at miniaturerealmstudio@gmail.com.
Welcome back, everybody. We're going to come back into our, now we actually done it for a third time in a row, hobby section. So I think it actually probably needs a name now, doesn't it, Stu? You know, a proper bloody name. But yeah, we're back. We're gonna chat paint ranges, because if you're a veteran painter, then you probably are have all kinds of different brands of paint around. If you're new to painting, you may have found a brand you like and you stuck with it. So we thought we'd for the veterans, we'll maybe talk about paint ranges you've heard of but not known, and maybe hopefully introduce some of you new guys into some new paint ranges. Absolutely. So what's your primary paint range? Where do you go to first usually?
It's changed in the last sort of 6 months or so. I think it's the same for you as well, but heavily using scale 75 at the moment. But it's probably 50-50 that and Vallejo at the moment. I still use Vallejo for a few stalwart colours of Vallejo. So I use their air range for the metallics a lot, and I use them for brush those on as well, and use them just as much as I use the Scale 75 ones. And I always use game colour, black and white and grey and things like that. They're my go-to sort of standard colours, but it is a bit mix and match. I like to use the best tools from the job, and if sometimes I'll find a new range or a new colour from a range I've not used before, and it'll find out it's better than what I've been using for ages, and I'll go back to it. I'm also limited by well, not limited, but I suppose I'm tied in by what my client wants. So sometimes I've painted something from them before, and it's matching what I've done, or it's matching some previous work they've had done elsewhere. So I'd often buy paints that I wouldn't normally go out and choose for my own models, but I use them to match the existing stuff, so my range kind of grows in that sort of sense as well. But I think there's a lot of people. The reason I wanted to talk about paint range is because I still think there's an awful lot of people that use just GW. I'm picking this figure out of the air, so it means nothing, but I wouldn't be surprised if sort of 75% of the people listening to this use GW and only use GW stuff, if not more, because you talk to people and they tend to talk in Citadel colour. And it's probably the one range that I know least names and things of, because I don't use it very often at all. And that's mainly down to the pots.
Yeah.
But the
I had a bit of a whinge at you about the pots the other day, didn't I?
Yeah, and quite rightly so. It's a shame. I don't know if you found this. You started decanting some of your into dropper bottles. Have you started doing that yet? I knew you were going.
No, I'm still waiting for fucking funnels to turn up from China.
I've done it without funnels a few months ago, and I've got a few in dropper bottles. And it's clearly the pots that cause a problem, because they don't seem as thick once they've been in dropper bottles for a while. So once they're not slowly drying out, the viscosity changes completely. And I'm putting them out with a dropper bottle on my palette and thinking it feels like a different paint, because the range of colours is fantastic, but I've never enjoyed the way they work or behave compared to some of the other colours I use. But it does change it. Makes quite a big difference. But I don't think GW have actually changed that soon. They'll do that in 3 or 4 years and bring it out like they're the first people to do it, like when they brought out mats. Look, game mats, really. Yeah, I think there's a lot out there. You should. GW is always a great place to start, because you can pick them up generally. Probably a lot more easily than you can put the other ranges up. If you live somewhere and you don't have an independent hobby store with you, you are pretty much resorting to order online, because even Hobbycraft now doesn't really stock much else other than Tamiya and Humbrol, does it? It used to do Games Workshop stuff. It doesn't anymore. If we think of Cheltenham, and it's a pretty, it's a decent sized town with another city right next door. There isn't anywhere we can get those other. We can't pick up Vallejo anywhere other than our local friendly game store and sponsor Incom Gaming. But there's nowhere else you can pick these things up. So if you want to try new paints, it does mean ordering online. Scale 75 is my favourite. Vallejo is a good supporting colour at the moment, and then I do use a smattering of P3, Cote d'Arms, which are pretty good. They're almost the old original GW colours. I've got use some Foundry as well, which are pretty much the same as P3 and Cote d'Arms. And I do have some Citadel stuff, but I don't use an awful lot. Their reds are still really good, I find. I used to use the metallics, but I've moved off those now. I'm using them Scale 75 and Vallejo. And I've got some Tamiya to go through the airbrush. But that's it, really. What about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty heavily Scale 75 now as well. I'm really enjoying using the paints, but I'm probably, because I've not been painting as long as you have, I've got quite a lot of GW paints. I really like the range. I think the great thing is they tend to make it quite easy to find colours that work together. They've got a base, a layer, a wash that goes with everything, so it's a great, easy to work with range. The pissing whinge I had with you about the bottles is I've been doing some blending with some power weapons with my airbrush, and I did a test model, and to get paint into the cup you have to pour it out the pot, which meant I put bloody loads of paint in it to do a little bit of work, which meant I wasted tons of paint. Whereas with a dropper bottle you can put 1 or 2 drops in and that's enough, and you're not wasting paint. So it's a real frustration that, to really actually get the most out of it, especially if you're airbrushing to use the GW range, you need to decant all the bottles. I would argue that, they don't encourage airbrushing. They are, they want people to work with the brush. All their videos are working with the brush. So they're not going to change that, because they don't need to. That's the way they work. I don't use a lot of Vallejo. I know you're very keen on it, but I struggle with their metallics through an airbrush. I find that they don't thin very well. They're either very, very wet, or they just clog the fucking airbrush. So I've almost launched most of my Vallejo metallics out the window. But this is again where it comes down to personal preference between painter. You really like the Vallejo metallics. I really can't get on with them, but on the same hand, I use a lot of Citadel where you don't. So there is some personal preference. I mean, I love Tamiya paints through the airbrush. They are beautiful when used with their own thinner. They are fantastic through an airbrush, but don't try and use them with a brush. They will just drop. By the time you dipped your brush in the pot and got it to the model, it will have dried on the frigging brush. It is a nightmare.
It's like trying to paint with nail varnish, isn't it?
God, yeah, it's awful. You will fuck your models up if you try and hand brush it with it. But put it in the airbrush with the thinner. I mean, you're a fairly recent convert to Tamiya, aren't you, Stu? I've kind of
absolutely
you into it, and you enjoying using them?
Yes, absolutely. The reason I didn't use them much is because of the range is limited. Because it's obviously meant designed originally for different kind of plastic kits, really, for different kind of modelling. And I had the colours I needed, really, through other ranges, so I didn't really see the need to do it. But it was more... I knew from watching what you did and seeing other painters, I knew that I could get the best finish on a white from their flat white. So I knew I was going to get the flat white, and if I was going to have to get the flat white, it means you have to get the thinner. So I thought, well, let's try a few other colours as well that will support what the way I paint. So I didn't pick up loads. I picked up some greys, and I picked up a blue, which I needed to base the white on Freddie's In Pampers Children to match his previous work. So it was a white that came up from a kind of frost blue. So I picked up what I needed, and they are tools for doing those things now. Obviously, clear red's always good, and that is one thing you can apply with the brush, but not for your Thousand Suns for doing blood effects and things like that. But I will dip into it for certain colours, knowing the finish you get is ultra smooth and crisp. So if you're after a certain finish, it's perfect. So for whites, I want a nice clean, crisp white, I will go to the Tamiya now as a default, I think. If I need to use the white as a pre-shade or something, I still don't, or pre-highlight, I don't go to the Tamiya as such. I still tend to use the Vallejos and the Scale 75s, just because it generally means I'm not having to give my airbrush quite a heavy clean in the middle before I go back to a less solvent paint. But for a top finish, they're really, really good. So for me, it's a tool for using whites mainly at the moment, but I may pick up some other colours. Project dependent, really, I suppose.
Yeah. I mean that's the thing, isn't it? That's why Tamiya isn't as popular as maybe some of the other ranges. It's a very small range, but I find for the colours I use it for, I can't get that finish with any other colour. You know, that is if I want that white or that grey or that black or that. You know, that's the one I'm going to go put my hand on and go for my Tamiya. But, you know, when I want tones of colour, you know, I want to work through a couple of different layers of a colour. You won't get the range of colours, you know, through that outside of your core sort of black through to white, you know, your greys and stuff. There isn't an awful lot of range. But yeah, they are fantastic. I mean, they do abuse your airbrush a bit. You have to clean them. Have you got cellulose thinners in a cut yet, Stu?
In a cut? Oh yeah, I've got it all over the place.
Fuck me, it will find any gap in your skin there is, and you will know about it. Is cellulose thinners. You know, there is a debate about whether you use. Yeah, some people like to use masks when they paint, and some people don't and stuff. If you're using cellulose thinners, fucking open the window and put a mask on. That stuff is awfully strong. It smells like shit, but. I'll tell you what, whenever I get a clog in the airbrush, I'd stick a little bit of that in there, whiz it around with the brush, and fuck me, the clog's gone in a second. It eats through everything. On the same hand, you can't leave it sitting in your airbrush because it will actually just eat your airbrush as well. So it's nasty stuff, but it does the job. But yeah, I mean, I've used some of the Forge Wheel paints, the Forge Wheel clears mainly I've used, and they were pretty good. Bigger range of colour than the Tamiya clears, but I've done some stuff with the Tamiya Clear Red, and I've done some stuff with the Forge Wheel Clear Red, and I think, again, my hand would go to the Tamiya pop first rather than the Forge Wheel one, but they're good. I mean, the other thing that puts me off the Forge Wheel paints is, again, no dropper bottles, you know, and it is a real pain. It is a real pain. And just going back to what I said earlier about Citadel wanting you to use a brush, they do an air range. They have their paints thinner for airbrushing, and they still put them in the same frigging pot. So even when they do something for an airbrush, they still use a shit pot. So yeah,
I can see they might change that. I imagine that when they first brought out the air range, it was a bit of a test to see whether they would sell. And
but they're not going to sell because they're not in dropper bottles.
Yeah, all that test might still be going on. But they, you know, GW have in the past have tested things in an odd way, haven't they? They seem to be testing whether Forge Wheel will sell well in stores by bringing out these exclusive store-only models that aren't quite as good as the other ones. So it's not really the best way of testing whether they'll sell in stores. We can tell you now, Forge Wheel will sell in stores, or just so that it arrives, you know, so you can actually do a collect at store, so you don't have to pay their shipping. But that's a different thing. That's a tangent. But yeah, they might still be on a bit of a test to see whether people are getting on with them. I've not bought any, to be honest with you.
I've got.
I don't know if it's a trust thing with with them. But I just think if I was going to use them, I'd probably pick up the normal and just thin it down.
Yeah.
I think when I was doing my fists, I looked at the yellows I was using to see whether they'd had them in airbrush, and I think the middle tone I used, and I can't remember the name of the middle tone I used, wasn't available in air anyway, so I'd have had to have bought the normal and normal layer paint and thinned it. So I think that stopped me at the time from doing it. So yeah, I've got nothing against GW paints; they're great. But I don't like the pots.
They're very consistent with the brush. To be fair to them, they when you work with them with a brush, you know exactly what you're getting out the pot. You know.
Yeah.
I find that I know I can grab that pot and I know the consistency and I know what it's going to feel like and how it's going to apply on a brush quite easily. So I find they're a good solid core of my paint range, the GW stuff, and I tend to use my other ranges to fill the gaps where GW falls down. And I'm finding more and more stuff. Like the Scale 75 sets are brilliant for. I can go out and pick up a steel set and get an amazing set of steel paints, rather than just going, well, I've got lead belcher and I've got to work off that. I've got different options. So, as a place to start, GW is a fantastic place to start. But these other ranges are out there and they're good. My biggest problem with the Vallejo range is the sheer fucking size of it. There are multiple ranges, there are multiple colours within the same range, and I find it a bit. I look at it and think, where the fuck do I start, to work with it? And I'm getting my head around it a bit more now, but I find that a bit of a downside with Vallejo, that it can be it's a bit bloated in places. I think, fucking hell, what range do I want? Where am I gonna look for the colour I want?
Yeah, I think you can, if you're thinking about trying Vallejo out and you're a Citadel user now, I think the first thing to do would be ignore the standard model colour range for now, because a lot of the tones and colours there seem to be aimed at military modelling kind of things. You'll get exact matches for certain greens or navy blues and things. And if you look at their game colour range, it's actually not very big. I'm sure it's only 30 odd. 36, something like that, 36 paints, and they almost directly colorate the color. I can't speak today. They can't directly match the color range from the original Citadel. So you'll find there's a Goblin Green. They got names like the old Citadel range used to have, and they're you could pick up those and try them as alternatives and see what it's like to use a dropper bottle. Even if you just pick up the whites and the black, because Citadel black and white are awful. The whites are dry and chalky. The black gets too thick and dries out too quickly. So even if you've never used anything else, and you'll pick up a game colour black and a game colour white and just see how they go and get used to the dropper bottle and see how you get on with it, and then maybe just expand trying a few different colours. But certain things work better than others. Citadel reds are good. Citadel yellows are good. People always say it's hard to paint yellow. I think if you use Citadel yellows, it's not really hard to paint yellow. I think the Game Air range is pretty good. It's just an air, slightly thinner range of the standard game colour. So again, if you're new to airbrushing, I think that's a really good beginner set. So, Scale 75, probably if you're new to airbrushing and you've not had any lessons, I think they're a little bit tricky to use to start off with. I wouldn't want to say someone come from Citadel paint and go and pick up Scale 75, or they would probably not like them and give them away or sell them on pretty quickly, because they require a bit of work to get used to the way they work. They handle very differently on the brush and on the palette. They seem quite thick, but when you apply the paint, it's almost a bit more transparent, and they dry very matte and a lot lighter, so you can build up layers and it looks like the layers are really stark, but when they dry they naturally blend in. They're very different to the way that Citadel paints behave. So I think if you are new to airbrushing, I would recommend Game Air, and then pick up a few Model Air colours as you need to expand the range. And once you get used to your airbrush a bit and using those, and then start looking at Scale 75, that's what I would recommend if you're going to do it that way. You can always start with the Citadel Air range because of the colours but you'll get fed up of not having dropper bottles after a while, I think.
Yeah, I guess whether you some of the range decision will come down to whether you are paintbrushing or airbrushing. if you are using it, if you are a paintbrush user, you're not going to want to touch Tamiya, as we sort of alluded to. If you're an airbrusher, Citadel may well be a no-go because of the pain in the arse with the bottles, and it is a real fucking pain in the arse with the pots. It leads to waste, and it's hard to control your ratios and stuff. So
I suppose Vallejo and now Scale 75, but definitely Vallejo have very good supporting products to go with their range. So they'll have an airbrush thinner and a cleaner and a medium, which works a bit like laminate medium. They've got lots of sort of things that will work with your paints. Which are obviously designed to work with their paints, can work well with others. You can pick up in the same bottles, you can get your satin varnish, your gloss varnish, or your matte varnish. They've got I think there's I've not tried it, but isn't there a metallic paint thinner? So it's supposed to stop them from splitting. Might be worth trying, because you were saying that you're using Vallejos through the airbrush, you find it's too watery or too thick. They do a flow improver. There's lots of kit that's all made by the same company. You can almost I think if you had to pick one brand, you can only use one brand. I would say that Vallejo is probably the most complete that you could find. It might not be the best thing for every job, but you could probably find something in that range that will do every job. Like they do their own decal fix. It's nowhere near as good as Microsol, Microset, but they do one, and it matches the rest of their range. So you can literally pick up something for everything. Whereas Citadel, they don't do any of their own decal fix. Their Forge have brought out a thinner stroke cleaner. It does both, so it's not a different bottle for each.
Airbrush solution.
There's no pigment. They sell pigment. They don't sell any pigment fixer. There's it's a limited range, isn't it? It's almost like we'll bring out a few little bits so that we can pretend that we've used our own products on the models in the magazines when obviously their painters are using all kinds of different stuff. I love Scale 75. I think my favourite at the moment. I like to see the way they're expanding. They do their own airbrush thinner now and cleaner. They've got their own pigments out. They got their inks and things. So they're growing. They seem to be trying to establish themselves in the market and increase their range as well. So it'll be really exciting to see how they grow. Hopefully we'll get a bit more regular stock in the UK, because it does seem to be hard for the retailers to keep them in stock, at least the sets. And one thing I think is really interesting about the sets is that you'll often go to GW and they'll say, here's your base, here's your layer. That's a really nice system to follow, but what you're always following is almost triads of colour. So you've got your dark tone, your mid and your highlight. What the Scale 75 paint sets do is mix that up a bit. So rather than giving you a base, a mid and a highlight, they're giving you complementary colours. So they're giving you, so in this flesh set, there's almost a purple and there's a mauvey type colour, isn't there, that works well as skin tones.
Yeah.
But if you were going the Games Workshop route, you'd pick up a dark flesh, a medium flesh, and a light flesh, and a wash. So rather than adding kind of accent tones and things, your non-metallics have got all of the different shades that you'd need to produce that non-metallic paint colour, rather than just 3 tones of grey or something. So he's got blues in there and got greens and things as well. The leather set's got like a dark purple colour. It's got an orange colour in there. So they're the kind of paints and colours you'd need to mix to get a more realistic tone for what you're trying to paint, rather than 2 to 3 colours that work for one job. They're giving you 8 colours that you can mix and match to produce lots of different shades of for that job. If that makes sense. I probably haven't explained that very well, but I think it's definitely a more advanced way of painting. That's another reason why I'd say stick with some other colours first. If you're new to painting, don't jump straight into Scale 75. It's not because we're trying to be elite and keep it to ourselves, but I think you need to learn some techniques. You need to learn how to mix and blend quite well. So if you're very much a follow Duncan kind of painter, which is great because what he does is absolutely fantastic, that style of painting won't work using Scale 75 very well. You could do it, but you'd find it harder because the way the colours work. I think they're designed to be mixed. They're designed to be mixed on a palette and used a bit more like you might mix oils or acrylic colours before you paint on canvas. It's got that kind of feel to the paint. I paint differently when I'm using them. I don't know if you feel the same when you've used them. I know you've primarily used the metallics for them, haven't you? For mostly, but you've used some of the other bits as well.
Yeah. You kind of summed it up nicely there. I don't have an awful lot to add to that. You've kind of summed that up quite nicely and succinctly, yeah.
Good. It means I was talking more sense than I thought I was. I mean, are there any other ranges that you've used? I think I've tried a few. I've used some of the Army Painter, and they're in little dropper bottles, and they're pretty good. Everyone you talk to says they were decent paints, and they behaved very much like Vallejo did, really, to me. They seem pretty good. So if you were, again, you were new to painting and you didn't want to pick up GW because you don't like the pots and you heard bad things, but you don't know what to do. They do some really good starter sets for Army Painter, and I'm not talking about the dips. I'm talking about their actual paint ranges.
No, you like a bit of quick shade.
Yeah, well, they're perfectly usable if you use it in the right application. But their paint sets are fine.
Answered.
I've got some. I've used it before, but it's I wouldn't want to use it on a Heresy army or something. If I was painting 10mm ancient Roman for DBM or DBA historical or something, and then I think it works really well. I think it just depends on the way you're using it. But I think if you're new to painting and you want a decent range. So you want a set with 2 or 3 blues, 2 or 3 reds, and a few green, a few of each primary colour, and you've got enough colours to mix and do a basic paint job. I think this stuff's great value and a really good starter, and you can get sets with I think 20 paints and some glue and some flock and stuff in there as well. So they're pretty good at having supporting products as well. But other than that, I think we've covered most of the majorly used brands, really. I think, try a few things out. Don't give up straight away, and stick to what you like best, because we all paint differently. We all like different things to work in a different way. So whatever suits your style, I'd say.
Yeah, I'm going to go out and get some household emulsion and water it down.
Yeah, I've still only heard that the once.
Interesting. No, if it works, it works. That is the underlying messages. However, go and experiment. Up until probably a year ago, I'd only used Citadel paints, and I stuck to that, and that was it. And now my desk looks like an alchemist's fucking guild with all the weird shit slapped all over it. And you just learn to experiment, and you find new things, and you find things that work for you, and you just end up going for it, And we tend to agree on quite a few paint ranges, but you use P3 and Coat d'Arms, which I've never used, and I use probably more Citadel than you use, and we definitely, and we both get to the same point usually in the end. It's just what we feel comfortable in using.
Absolutely right. Well, we've probably done that to death now. People are fed up of hearing us talking about paints and colours and stuff. So I think we'll go to a little break now and come back and wrap the show up.
Welcome back to the wrap-up, guys. So just going to have a fairly brief wrap-up of stuff. We tend to share a lot of the stuff on Facebook, so come and join us on Facebook. We tend to shout a lot of things out on there, mention events and stuff that's going on there. So that's usually a good place to find stuff going on from our Facebook. But we got a few things we wanted to shout out. First thing was Greetings from the Warp. Our friend Matt Marlowe up at Powerful Greetings from the Warp. They are running their 3,000 point heresy narrative story weekend, the Gods of War, on the 8th and 9th of July. Head over to the Greetings from the Warp group. It's generally a good place. They do a mixture of games, but there is some good heresy stuff going on in there. So go and give that a look. There is Greetings from the Warp. No, I've done that one. Fuck's sake. I've made it to the wrap up, but fuck me, I'm not. There's not going to be any fucking good. Conflict Norwich.
Like a goldfish. Yes, Conflict Norwich.
Conflict Norwich. That's just come out. Tickets are not available until April, but the rules pack is up, the event pack's up for the 27th and 28th. Fully painted, narrative driven. event down in Norwich. So go over there and breed with your sister while you're down there.
I used to live in Norwich.
Yeah, exactly. That says a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah,
you take the piss from me being from Gloucester, you fucking Norwich boy.
I'm from Taunton, but you think this is West Country? Taunton's proper West Country.
Fucking everywhere, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, I was born in Taunton.
You're like a bad rash.
I'm slowly working my way back down to real West Country, not this fake West Country that Gloucester and Cheltenham is.
Gateway to the West Country, mate. We got cheese rolling. That's all you fucking need to know.
Back doors of the West Country. Anyway.
Back doors of the West Country. Everything goes through my back doors. Yeah, Conflict Norwich. Go and give them a look.
Where's that going to be held? Did it say where it's going to be held? That
Norwich.
Yeah, but where in Norwich?
Norwich.
Is it a Dicey Games or something like that?
Norfolk.
Yeah.
Norfolk, Norwich, Norfolk.
It's quite a big county. Look at a map.
Fuck me.
I just think people might be interested. I don't know whether you have that information or not. I just wonder if there was a venue or something.
Hell, here we are. Hang on, I'm getting to it. Fucking hell. What do you think we're prepared or something like this?
Wow.
Can you tell this is the one event that I put the notes together for? It doesn't actually say.
Fair enough.
It's the Iceni Schism. Let's open the rules pack.
Iceni probably.
Iceni.
Yeah, it'd be Iceni. I think it's history. It's history, Tom. It's history.
So did you send me the fucking rules pack of that? Yeah. Oh Jesus. Anyway, yeah, go and look at their group. It's awesome. It's gonna be good. They got cool guys, cool event. It's narrative based. Who really cares anything more than that? It's fully painted only, and it's narrative. So, what else do you need to know about it? Really, it's going to be good. Yeah, sliding on. If you've got an event you want us to shout out, let us know, and we will put it in the notes, and we will talk about it.
Well, you seem to have put in the notes: French car maker Peugeot Citroën strikes deal to buy General Motors European arm, including Vauxhall.
That's fucking important.
Did you mean to screenshot that into the?
Yes. I waited all day until that popped up so I could screenshot that bit for you. That's the most important thing that's happened in the hobby. You know, that fucking General Motors are selling their European arm to Peugeot Citroën, because basically means all our fucking cars in Europe now are made by Peugeot, and the French are making everything. So it's going to be fucking bollocks.
There's going to be some really angry Daily Express readers that hate the French getting already angry about that.
Oh, you could see the jowls wobbling with rage now.
Not in their day, eh? Not in there. Anyway,
not in my day. Not in my day. Not in my day. I lived in cardboard boxing, Middle Road. Worked 26 hours a day down pit. Fuckers, they grew up on a fucking life of luxury. Them fuckers. I fucking can't buy a house now because of them. Anyway, yeah, enough of that. What actually Stu is trying to get me to talk about is the MKA painting raffle. So Matt and Andy and I think Henry are off to Australia again. They're pissing off to Australia again to have a jolly and piss around in Australia and teach those Australians to paint more, because I mean they can't play the game and they can't do anything else, so they might as well be able to paint shit. So they're off to Australia, and the last time they went off there, I don't know if anybody remembers, the people around, the last time they went, they painted that amazing Alpha Legion army that was raffled off for Soldier, and they made a ton of money. Well, they're at it again, and as Matt likes to do, he's up the ante again. They are going to pro-paint you what Matt has called a solar pattern Stormbird. I believe that's a SOCAR pattern Stormbird. So that is a fucking huge ass model. They are going to paint it. Him, Matt, Andy, and Henry. They're not going to let me have a go with it, which I think is just fucking rude, quite frankly. But you're actually going to get the 3 MKA guys paint you a SOCAR pattern Stormbird in your Legion colours if you enter the raffle and win it, which is pretty awesome. So you get a ticket for every 10 Australian dollary dues you put down into the donation. I think that roughly works out about 50p a ticket, doesn't it? The bloody Australian dollary dues. But all money goes to Soldier On, which is pretty freaking awesome charity to go and support. And regardless of what you think supporting charity is a good thing, regardless of what charity is. You should always put your money behind some charities. So, yeah, go and support them and go and see if you can win yourself a SoCal pattern Stormbird painted by 3 Hammer legends. You know, it will be pretty freaking awesome. We saw it in Warhammer World, didn't we, when we were up there? And every time I see it, I think, fuck me, it's massive. Like, I've seen it a couple of times, and every time I see it, I think, I forget how fucking big it is. It's like half the size of my willy.
I knew you were going to go there. It's predictable toilet humour from
sorry,
Mr.
I'm 4 beers in, and quite frankly, I need to go to bed. So, yeah, no, the Stormbird is an amazing model. We had the Town Mantle was out, wasn't it, as well? I don't know if anybody knows the Town Mantle, which is, I think, is the biggest model Forge World they've ever produced. And actually, I don't think the Stormbird's far off it, is it?
No, I've never seen it with the Town Mantle with the roof off. I didn't realise it had loads of little aliens sitting in the middle.
So, yeah, go and support charity. I mean, regardless of the prize, even if they didn't put any prize up, you should be going and donating to support some charity and support them. And Tim, you can actually turn up to these MKA classes and learn to paint. So, you know, your alter ego, Michael, you know, you can't always hide behind the fact that Michael, your alter ego, is doing all the painting. You've got to learn to turn up and paint as well. So, yeah, go and support that. That was pretty awesome. And, yeah, go and enjoy it. So, lastly, and not leastly, come and join us on social media. We have a pretty good Instagram gang going, you know, hashtag Painting Forge World. You know, Tim, you know, might get picked up on there one day, you know, when you're as good as me and Stu. Did I tell you I made the front page of Forge World the other day?
You did, yeah. It's,
Someone's blind at
Tim's a bit disappointed because Michael's awesome Alpha Legion haven't been picked up, but I think
what Tim hasn't realised is that like they go through it once every 3 months and find things. So Tim,
he'll get on
they'll
there.
find you. You'll get there. And Michael's Alpha Legion is fucking stunning. To be fair,
it deserves to be up there. I think it's just luck about when you post that link or that hashtag and whether they happen to be looking. And I think they're doing it less now. They got so much stuff up there as well. So I'm sure it'll happen at some point.
Yeah. So yeah, it was generally pretty cool. So you got anything else you want to ramble on about for a bit, Stu, or are we done for now?
I think we're done. We're done. Yeah. Check out the show notes. All the links to the stuff we've been talking about, the new podcast and stuff's all in there. So we've just updated it as we recorded. So it's there. It will be in there. We're not like one of those casts that say we'll post it in the show notes and never do. All the links are there. So it's a good little resource. Our show notes. It's got a lot of.
Stu hurts me if I don't put things in the show notes properly.
I do.
Cool. I'm gonna go and. I think my dog's in bed with my wife, so I'm going to do. I'm quite frankly probably going to end up fucking sleeping on the sofa. Quite frankly, so I'm going to go make myself comfortable for that. And I will catch you guys soon, and I will speak to you later, Stu.
Take care, guys. Bye.